Face as I'm waiting for the thing to load to start the stream. Face. I'm gonna adjust my screen to the monitor here so I get the chat and the Celtics game adequately visible. Yep, computer's going crazy. This thing's old. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 191 of Salvaggio and Cratty, here for you again on a Wednesday night, back to your regularly scheduled programming after our Tuesday show last week to accommodate both games a little better. We'll start with hockey as the Bruins played last night. We'll shift to some basketball and then wrap it up with, you could say, the main attraction in a way from the past week was the draft, and a good one by the Patriots. We'll get into that later. We'll start with the Bruins, who lost last night. Hopefully the Celtics can have a different fate in a home game 5 tonight. And we'll get right into it. Ryan, how are you doing? Has the Bruins loss last night been on your mind all day like it has mine?
Yeah, and it's not the sense of how it's that they lost. It's how they played and how they lost. And just that once again, like I said it last night, I found myself dumbfounded that I was surprised that in a clinching game at the TD Garden, the Boston Bruins just did not show up. And that was the most frustrating thing. It seemed like, we've seen this story time and time again. You would have thought maybe this time around would be different. No, with being Toronto and one of the easier opponents we've seen the Bruins play in a while when it comes to these type of situations, as we know what Toronto is at this point. And the Bruins just pretty much let them back into the game. I'm not going to say let them back into the series because I think, the Bruins obviously still have the series at hand up 3-2. But I don't know. I mean, we'll get into it. I'm sure we're going to focus more on the positives to start with, the two games in Toronto. But that was the most frustrating thing for me is to see how well they played in those two games in Toronto. And then for whatever reason, like I was texting my uncle about this last night, and he was kind of more bullshit than I was about it. But as the night went on, I kind of shared the same thought process as he did by the end of the game. Just again, unnecessary lineup changes from Jim Montgomery. I didn't understand a couple of moves he makes. I joked with him last night that now the Bruins lost this game. Expect Olmark in net for game 6. Just, joking. But with Montgomery, who the hell knows? Because it seems like every time they have a loss or a little bit of a setback, there's some 3 new defensive pairings, a couple new guys in the forward core, and it just makes no sense to me. Like I feel like this guy panics at really any sense of adversity in the playoffs, and it's starting, if it hasn't already. I don't know if you feel the same way or feel differently. Starting to concern me a little bit, especially if the Bruins move forward into the playoffs. Like I want to think Montgomery is a guy you can trust to make the right decisions, but time and time again, it just seems like he can't, and he just gets outcoached, or if it's just nerves in the playoffs. I don't know what it is, but it's incredibly infuriating to watch.
Yeah, that's a good teaser for what we'll talk about after the game 5 wrap up more so. But yeah, I think just a quick thing for me too. I think it's more so just like feeling the need to change something when he doesn't need to all the time, more so than panic. I don't see this as a panic move. I see it
Okay.
as like an unnecessary um, thing he felt he needed to do because Brazeau was healthy and they wanted a different look from Shattenkirk clearly. But we will get into that. Let's start with game 3. 4-2 win in Toronto. Pretty good one. Swayman plays awesome. Like so good. Huge saves, a few really big high danger ones. Stuffs 28-30. Bruins outshoot them 34-30, 2 for 3 on the power play. Lost 55.4% of draws. You notice that's becoming a trend
The
of
theme. Yep.
bad faceoffs. I've kind of picked up on that this year, and I like to highlight it because it's important, especially in the playoffs. One faceoff can eventually lead to a goal and change a whole game. It really is just like that. And interesting note that at least we're 8-4 in takeaways in this game, but it clearly didn't really matter too much. The roughing call on McAvoy for that hit along the wall in front of the bench on Dewar was just stupid. if anything, it's interference. Like it drives me nuts when I see a ref make a bad or tacky call and
Mhm.
then get the actual infraction wrong. Like that's just not roughing. It's just simply not.
Mhm.
There was like maybe a little shove afterwards in the ground and like a normal hit. That was maybe a half second, a second too late. But you don't call that interference even in the playoffs, in my opinion. I'd say
Mhm.
it if it was the other way around. I guarantee it. I promise you that.
Well, that's
Major League
becoming a
scandal
theme
shit.
too, and again, that'll be more so in Game Five. But again, I'm not going to make excuses for how the Bruins played last night because they don't deserve to have excuses made for them. But I feel like the referees might be starting to get a little bit too much involved in this series, which
Mm-hmm.
kind of sucks to see because I feel like at least the first game, maybe if I'm remembering correctly, first couple games, I feel like they were letting them play. There wasn't a lot of ticky tack stuff, and now I feel like it has been completely flipped on its head. Especially Game Five, we'll get into a little later, like you said. But that's something that's kind of creeped up as well and has not been great to see because again, you never come to these games to watch the referees, and especially last night, there were times where it just seemed
Yeah.
like they kind of made it about themselves, which is again very frustrating to watch.
Yeah, and last night, again, like we'll talk about when we get to game five. We just saw some like absurdity from the refs that is
Hmm.
different than just making up calls. It's just really strange and really unnecessary.
Yep.
Um, the Knights goal was tough for Witherspoon and Shattenkirk, not at their best moment. Got schooled pretty good. Um, this went under the radar. I feel like Samsonov just like shook his mask off when it was loose in order to like very clearly
Stop
stop the
play. Yeah.
play
Yep.
when there was a potential scoring chance coming, which I thought was whack. Should have been delay of game, but I also, I lean towards not expecting them to call that there, and they didn't. So it is what it is. Little redemption eventually. The controversial Frederick goal. It's this simple to me. You could have called the penalty there, but Bertuzzi dived or dove.
There you
Wow.
go. 0 for 2.
There we go. Good start.
Third time's the charm.
Yeah, he dove. Like that's just that's a fact. If you think otherwise, I don't know if we were watching the same thing.
Hmm.
Um, it is what it is. Like, sure, you can get pissed about it. I understand why. Um, if you're on the other side, but it is what it is. It counts. But yeah, good little scrum in the middle there with Marchand and Bertuzzi. I was saying early in the game that Marchand needs to shoot, and things have aged pretty well since he
I would
started
say
shooting.
so. Yeah.
In the series, he's putting up a lot of points. He shoots finally. I might have texted you right before this. You might have been one of the people I texted this.
Think it was.
Like
Yep.
shoot, and then he
Hmm.
shoots and it leads to a rebound. I definitely told Matt who was watching the game with me. Um, Rebound leads to a goal. Sometimes it's that simple. Really weak effort by Lindholm on the Bertuzzi goal doesn't really kind of lets him coast right by.
Hmm.
You know, kind of caught in the middle. Easily could have just done a little push, kind of like try to reach out and do something. It didn't work. Um, didn't like that. I liked the effort on the Marchand goal though, and this is vintage Marchand. That type of shot, that type of snapshot. He can put shots like that randomly in the most perfect places. If there wasn't a body in the way on the other side of the net, you could say that was the hardest place he could put it. Either way, you could say it's the hardest place he put it because he didn't have much of a window there. Um, yeah, Heinen and Frederick get in there, muck around behind the net, ends up out front. Just a perfect shot. Just a vintage Marchand playoff goal. He eventually became the all-time leader in Bruins playoff goals, passing Cam Neely. He's at 56 or 57 now. Um, he caps it off with a gritty PPENG, a power play empty net goal. Sheldon Keefe said his antics are an art. He's elite at it, which, is just what
Typical
you say when you have
crybaby
nothing else to
Toronto.
say.
Yeah.
When you have nothing else to say after the game, blame the other team, try
Hmm.
and make the other team look bad. Yeah, Swayman was unreal in this game. I thought it was funny the egregious missed high stick right in front of the net where there's always a ref looking.
Hmm.
Just missed. Like there was definitely some Toronto bias I feel from the refs here, but it didn't matter. Like I kind of forget about the bias a little bit when you win.
Yeah, it
You
makes it
being the
easier to
Bruins.
forget for sure.
So yeah, so you missed the high stick early. And Tavares takes a tough. It was like hooking or tripping penalty late. That's hockey gods right there. And Lohrei, I've been okay with Lohrei, especially in game 4, he was excellent with McAvoy. Can't take 2 penalties in one game. Don't do that again.
Yeah, not beneficial.
No, not great. But it's okay. They won the game. Any other takeaways from this one for you?
No, just again that the kind of the theme of the series is taken over. That Swayman has been absolutely excellent, and like I said last night, again, I know I'm jumping the gun here to Game 5 because I think that's the one. It's the most recent. It's the one that there was the most talk about. I feel like didn't deserve that way the way that game ended at all. I mean, you very easily could have lost last night 5-6 to 1. Should have been probably shut out because the goal they scored was a joke. But I mean, he's been fantastic, and that's kind of the one thing I will give Montgomery credit for. I know I joked earlier saying that they're probably going to go with Olmark in Game 6 now that they lost. But I'm so glad they went away from the rotation because Swayman has been the most impactful player, and he's been your MVP in the series so far. I don't think that's too crazy to say. He's been excellent pretty much every game he's been out there.
Yeah, and just to put things in perspective a little bit, he had a 956 going into this game. He now has 3 wins, a 1.49 goals against, and a 952 save percentage.
Pretty
That's
good.
better than Tim Thomas in 2011 at this pace. So that's just some perspective. Much different goalies,
Yeah,
style
for
wise,
sure. Yep.
but hey, doesn't matter as long as you keep the puck out of the net. Game four, Ryan, another just
Yep.
awesome performance by Swayman. Like really stellar stuff. They win 3-1. He stops 24-25. They outshoot the Leafs 25-22. I didn't notice this until I listened to the Sports Hub Underground the other day. They blocked 27 shots.
I would have never known that unless you told me it. That is insane.
I've never heard a shot block total from one game like that in my life. They were out hit 49-23, which is kind of funny given how like they dominated the game. Maybe they were just too focused on dominating to worry about the body. I don't know.
Yes, so
Guess it works here. Wouldn't love that happening in the future, but when you win in this fashion, I guess it's one of those things you can kind of look past a little. They killed all 3 penalties. But yeah, again, a trend. They only won just less than 40% of draws. Let's fix that a little bit. And part of that, which led to, I think, mainly why Beecher wasn't in the lineup in Game 5, is Beecher, I think, was 1 of 6 on the draw. So I'm just going to give a little teaser here. I don't understand if that's part of the reason why that takes Beecher out. I think he's kind of had a short leash with Beecher as a rookie this year. Johnny Beecher is not the center on that line. He takes faceoffs in certain situations. He is the winger. If that is the reason, you can simply not have him take faceoffs or take less faceoffs. Like if that's the main reason, and I don't know because I'm not in the locker room. That's really bizarre to me. Really bizarre by Montgomery, but we'll talk about that stuff a little more later. I hate too many men penalties. They took one in this game.
They've taken a lot in this series. It's that's another frustrating thing that you think you'd be able to iron out.
They might have double digit too many men penalties on the season. They got to be close. They've got to at least have 6 or 7. It's a bad penalty. It just shouldn't ever happen. I loved Lowry's denial on the wall on that clearing attempt on the JVR goal. That saves that play, saves the offensive possession, gets it to JVR, who catches Samsonov at the wrong time, sneaks it 5-hole. That's huge for JVR. Like it's been a rough last 2 months for him. He does it against one of his old teams. Just a good opportunistic goal. Great play by Lowry to keep the possession alive. It was awesome. It was awesome. Hopefully it can, keep being a boost for him because I think he's been fine.
Yeah, he definitely hasn't hurt you out there for sure.
Yeah, it was a good gamble to take to put him back in after, some rough stretches here for a while. Scores 5-hole. Brody, I don't know how much of this was on Brody, but he was tied up with Danton Heinen in the corner before then for way too long. Whether Heinen was maybe holding him or he got caught up and couldn't get out, I don't know. I'm not any of those players, so I'm not in the scrum.
Wasn't there?
So
I don't know.
I know. Well, it is what it is. I didn't really see anybody freaking out about it. Maybe he just got caught up, couldn't get out in time. But tough for him to not get in there quick enough. Probably could have stopped the goal. The Marchand goal was crazy, and it's not just because how well it worked for the Bruins. Just horrific penalty kill defense by Toronto. Pontus Holmberg, who another guy we'll talk about in Game 5, he is awful on the penalty kill sometimes when it comes to disrupting shooting lanes, passing lanes, mainly passing lanes. he is like one every once in a while where he is terrible. Like it's like his first time doing it. I'll knock on wood there. But it's just something I've noticed. So that goal, like huge goal, too easy. That one would drive me crazy if I was a Leafs fan. And it's just poetic that it was a dumbass cross check by Domi for seemingly no reason, unless something was said before then to him that pissed him off. He's just got a loose screw. It's just how he's always kind of
It's
been.
just, yeah.
It's poetic that Marchand scores a goal on something dumb that Domi does. But yeah, it's just a huge goal, huge confidence booster. Um, the Pasta goal is a little weird because I don't even know who the bounce hit off of. Lindholm sends a stretch pass, and like DeBrusk is tied up with another Leaf or two, and it hits off of somebody and somehow ends up in a perfect spot for Marchand. He's flying into the offensive zone, and just finds Pasternak for like an NHL 24 goal cross crease. Just too easy. Like this one was just the dagger. A huge goal, a huge effort by Marchand, like unbelievable stuff. The holding by Nylander was one of the dumbest penalties when he just like almost tackled DeBrusk, like pretty much tackled DeBrusk. Really strange. Mitch Marner ruins the shutout. Pretty nice goal by him. Swayman almost had it miraculously enough. I think Shattenkirk could have done a little more. I don't know how much that played into the decision to sit him in Game 5. I hope not a lot because like it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, exactly.
But Shattenkirk, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. The biggest thing towards the end here was the blow up on the bench. Bertuzzi's just caught in the middle of it. I said to myself,
Feels so bad for that guy, right? Just
how do you after that, especially if you lose the
looks
series, it's different if
miserable.
you win. It's different if you win, if they come back and win the series. How do you go back to Toronto? Like, unless they're the team that gives you the most money, and he's just comfortable staying, he gets the most money, all the power to him. That would have been the light bulb moment if he needed it, even unless his mind's been made up to like, I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, even if I play for a worse team, do I want to be a part of this long term? Because he took that 1 year deal. The market was different. A lot of players took 1 year deals to reset the market. Tarasenko was another one. I think he reset his market pretty well for when the market the cap space goes up. Blow up on the Toronto bench. Nylander saying this isn't fucking junior. Stop fucking crying. I would imagine Matthews was in it, but with the junior comment that was directed towards Nylander because Matthews played for the National Development Program and played in Switzerland. So that'd be a little odd if it was directed at Matthews. I think it was Marner, and Marner was the whiny one. He's the one that threw the tantrum with his gloves. You can't do that.
Yeah. Yep.
I know it's heat of the moment. You can't do that, Marner. Come on, man. Like, what are you doing? What does that help you do? Break a stick. Like, come on. Be a
Snap
man.
something, yeah.
Like the Boston be a man guy was just sending it to him. Like, don't throw your gloves after a tantrum.
I haven't seen one of
Break
those
a
guys'
stick.
TikToks in a
Be a
long
man.
time.
He's the best.
He's
I
very
love
funny,
that guy.
yeah.
Very funny. Mass guy too, of course. You can tell by the accent. I think he's from South Shore, maybe, like myself. Yeah, that was crazy. Led to a lot of speculation. People, talking about blowing it up. We'll talk about the Leafs potentially blowing it up if the Bruins even beat them. That's going ahead of the game. But a lot of people want Mitch Marner out in Toronto, and he might want out. Who knows? That was one of the best 60 minutes of Bruins hockey I've ever seen, and I'm not exaggerating.
No, and again, that's why, I mean, you just couple everything together. And again, I keep jumping to Game 5, but that's where my mind is at. A performance like that, it overshadows the performance like Game 4 and Game 3 to me. And again, because of everything that happened in Game 4, like you had Toronto on the ropes as best as you possibly could going into Game 5 with what you just said, the just completely, utterly stupid penalty from Nylander. Because at that point, Toronto was kind of surging a little bit, weren't they? And everyone kind of had the same thought process of like, that penalty just killed you. Like you're done now if the Bruins score, and they obviously did. And that obviously put Toronto down 3-1 in both senses. Then, like you said, you have the blow up. So now everyone is, okay, Toronto, as we knew, already soft to begin with. Now they're mentally weak. They're going to come in and just pack it in Game 5. They get down early. It's going to be over. You're probably going to see, maybe more fighting on the bench or guys going at each other. And they're going to crumble. Again, Game 5 at home for the Bruins. You should be able to, Game 5, excuse me. Should be able to close things out. Literally everything was going in your favor at that point. And again, to just have like what I agree with you. That was probably one of the best Bruins games of the season, if not the best, from like you said, a full 60 minutes in Game 4. To have what you did have happened in game 5 is it's inexcusable. Like I can't
No.
wrap my head around it now, a little less than 24 hours later. It's mind-blowing to me. But again, I shouldn't
Yeah.
be surprised because we've seen this story before. Not saying that the Bruins are now, I mean, hopefully not going to just now utterly collapse. But like I just don't know how anybody can feel positive coming out of that game when again, we've
Mhm.
seen this story before, and that's why it's so frustrating.
Yeah. It is. And now after all the teasers I said, we'll finally get into it.
Mhm.
That game was really perfect though. Like it felt like a bad omen with a couple early power plays.
Yep.
After that, early power plays for Toronto, I should say.
Mhm.
After that, it was all business. Everything was perfect. Like passes weren't getting fucked up. The pace was great. Everything was done. You could tell with some thought process behind it. Unlike last night, um, it was clinical. I think it's the perfect way to describe it. It was tremendously pleasing to watch. Um, it was nice to be able to relax during a hockey game.
Yeah, exactly.
I had no doubts. It was wild. It was a
Mhm.
wild game. It kind of blew my mind.
They
Game
played game
five.
4 like they should have played game 5. Like they played game
Yes,
4 like
yes,
all they played
yes.
game 4 like all like it was a division series in baseball. Like all we need to do is win 3 games and we advance. Like I feel like they forgot they have to win 4 to get to the next round with how bad things were last night.
Yeah, and it stinks. Like a lot of teams say this, but this team, the emphasis has always been like the leadership and the right group of guys. Like
That's
we
their
know we're
core.
gonna
It's what they've
do.
gone from. Yeah.
Then they do that in game five. They do just this, Ryan. They lose 2-1 in overtime last night. Um, Lead is cut to 3-2. Swayman again, just like gave you every chance to win.
Yep. You feel
Every
so bad for
chance.
him. You really do.
31 of 33 shots stopped. Um, 33-28 shot advantage for the Leafs. They had 2 shots. The Bruins had 2 shots on goal in the first period. Um, I think they might have had 2 until like 6 to 8 minutes into the
I
second.
think you might be right.
Like
I would have never guessed the shot total was going to be that close by the end of this game with how things started off. Like, it's kind of
it was
unbelievable.
wild. It was so weird. The Leafs won 62.2% of draws. Bruins only got 1 power play. Kind of felt like a game in Toronto every once in a while with some of these calls that
Mhm.
went against them or weren't called. More so weren't called. They blocked 19 shots, another huge defensive effort. They out hit them 43-38. Um, they're now 1-6, I think, in their last 7 game fives in the playoffs. Game
Sounds
five
about
is
right.
their crutch.
Yep.
The last one was Columbus the year they went to the Cup. Did they put Columbus the year they went to the Cup? Yeah, I think they did. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that. It shouldn't be, but that's okay. You get the picture. They played
Mhm.
Columbus
People
once in
know
the
what you're
past,
talking
however
about.
so
Yep.
many years. That was a great series, by the way. That was back when we were in college. Damn, a really flat effort. Really flat.
That's
Flat's the
putting it
perfect way.
nicely.
Um, I got to give the Leafs credit. Desperation was clear
Yeah,
early on.
absolutely.
They shot anything and everything, even if it was this flimsy little
As they
dickhead
should have.
shot that
Like,
has no danger of going in. They threw everything at the net. The fucking it's like the puck was a meteor and they
mhm.
needed to get it off their stick. Like it was crazy. It's like it was on fire. Um, and yeah, like that made the Bruins uncomfortable from the start. They weren't doing that shooting approach the whole time. That's just not sustainable, and it's kind of stupid to just throw everything at the net. But like, you want to make a team uncomfortable on the road in a must-win game. That's not a bad way to do it, and it
Absolutely.
worked. They played faster, pace-wise. It goes back to the point. Like, I hate to be a broken record about pace. I think it's so important in the playoffs. The Bruins just didn't have good pace really this whole game.
Mhm.
Um, McCabe's goal was just a perfect shot. Like it's one of those like you can maybe say you hope the goalie can get that, but not me. There's a lot of bodies in the way. Like that's a tough shot to save, and it was placed perfectly.
Mhm.
Um, Felt like it was just meant to go in the net. Um, Tough look for Carlo with the icing before. A lot of people were getting on him. I had an old neighbor actually DM me about that today. One of the things he didn't love.
Just out of the blue.
Um, yeah, I don't know. He might listen to the show, so shout out to him if
Oh,
he knows who he is. I have no idea if he listens, but um, yeah, the Frederick
one of the free
goal.
plug. That's what it was on
Yeah,
the.
if you wanted the free
Yeah.
plug.
Yep.
Um, the Frederick goal was like it was nice, but it was definitely a little lucky.
It's a joke.
Some bounces. Um, Something that needed to happen more though, when you look back, just quick decisions, not fucking around.
Mhm.
Um, just wish they could have done more of it. They really, really, really struggled to extend offensive zone time. This is a Leafs team that's not a team that has defensive breakouts as a strength with that unit. They're beatable. They're very vulnerable at times to be made uncomfortable. The Bruins didn't do that.
Mhm.
Like they've done it well for stretches of the series. They didn't do it. The scrum that led to them being a man down was really dumb to me. There was nothing there that said the Bruins needed an extra guy in the box. To me, there just wasn't like that thing unless it's an egregious other thing
Yeah.
that comes up and puts you down, which there wasn't. Um, that's even Steven. It's really cut and dry. It's even Steven. You figure it out. Everybody cools down a little bit. You get back in the game. Um, Marchand gets bundled by a ref,
It's
trying to
wild
take him
to
down.
see.
Steve Kazari just tells McAvoy to fuck off and is
Mhm.
yelling at Pasternak. Like, that's crazy to do. Like, heat of the moment, I don't really care, but like, dude, really?
You
Like,
think Jack Edwards is gonna send that guy a Christmas card this
oh
this
my
year?
God.
I
Like,
can't
people, of
can't.
course, people are freaking out about Jack calling him a coward. Like, God, are you guys serious?
I
Like,
thought it was one of
who
the better Jack lines
cares?
we've had in quite a while.
Who
Like,
cares, man? Like, you guys are getting so worked up about this. You know, this isn't targeted at anyone in specific, but like, guess what? Jack Edwards is retiring. So how about you fuck off
I'm a little surprised.
until
I
he's
mean,
done?
it's just
Seriously.
the person he is. He's gonna go out on a high note, but I'm a little surprised he's not. Like, I figured he might try to sneak in a couple of extra shots or like just
If
those
he
like
drops like
typical
an
Jack
F bomb
Edwards.
or something, I'm gonna
Well,
lose my
yeah, that'd
mind.
be. No,
This
I
motherfucker.
think Brickley had the best line of the entire night with the check on McAvoy on Marchand, where he said that's probably some of the best body contact we've seen this entire series. I'm like, he's
I know.
100% right. Like that legitimately looked
Yeah.
like how
Brick is
Toronto's
good for
defense
a
should be playing.
Brick is really good for a comment like that every once in a
Hmm.
while. He'll just sneak in.
Just kind of
Like,
out of left field. Like, whoa, where'd that
yeah,
come
it's
from?
awesome.
Like, yeah,
It's one of my favorite things about him.
yep.
Um, Underrated part of the game winner that I noticed looking back, like Coyle sends a stretch pass from the defensive blue line to a streaking Marchand on the left side, and Marchand just can't catch a pretty
Yeah.
simple
Nope.
pass. It ends up on Toronto's stick. Breakout happens. Well, not really like a breakout. It was just kind of like a regroup, um, high in their defensive zone. Grizzly, just this is one of the reasons why people did not want Grizzly in the
Yep.
lineup. I'm not saying any other defenseman is backing him out or bundling him there. I will say if Andrew Peak were healthy, I bet Andrew Peak does
Oh,
because that's just how he
absolutely.
plays, and he's
Yep.
bigger. Like it's nitpicky and kind of dumb to be like, oh, this guy would have done it. This guy would have done it. Like, sure, you can speculate that, but we truly don't know. But it was the
I don't
worst defenseman on your team to have in that spot.
I don't think that's that egregious to say though. Like any other
No, it is,
defenseman
but
would have like
I
tried
think
it.
it's
Like
dumb. Yeah,
not
it's
saying
dumb
Grizzly
to
didn't
like
try, but like try. Like to
it's
throw a
dumb
body,
from
do
a
something.
practical sense. Like you're just stressing yourself out talking about it is my
Fair.
point. Like you're
Yeah,
just
I
making
got you. Yep.
yourself angry.
Hmm.
Um he's got to do more though there. Like summon that upper body strength. Get a little low, get a
Hmm.
push. Like it just wasn't a good enough effort. Then you have like some little lucky bounces. McAvoy can't get it, Swayman can't find it in time. And Nyes buries it. That's what a player like Matthew Nyes does. Um,
The
just a stinker. I feel like the Bruins for a while like really struggled to extend playoff overtime. Overtimes end quick against the Bruins.
I mean, they all whether it's playoff overtime or not, I feel like that seems to be the
Which
case. Pretty.
honestly, even if they lose, depending on the game, I kind of prefer
Yeah,
than
I'm right
doing
there
like
with
a
you. I
triple
don't want to.
overtime.
Yeah,
But yeah, like
sit
I
there
don't know,
until 2 o'clock in the morning and just to have them lose because then you're really going to be pissed off. You're like, what the fuck
it's
did I stay up
yeah,
for?
it's a low
Like,
key weakness. Like
mhm.
they kind of struggle in overtimes, unless they're winning early.
I mean, that
It's a
overtime went.
heartbreaker.
It
But they
went
didn't deserve to
exactly
win
how
that
you.
game.
They didn't, and it kind of went exactly how you figured it should. Like, I mean, the
Yeah,
one time the Bruins
right.
step
That's
up
a
is the
great point.
first minute and a half of overtime. So as soon as obviously they don't score there, you're like, all right, the first puck Toronto gets on net is going to kick off of somebody's skate or bounce off the dasher and do something stupid. Obviously, that wasn't the case, but I mean, the point stands that the first chance they get, they put in the net. On the Grizzly thing too, it obviously gets magnified with something I talked about earlier of the unnecessary lineup changes. Like, Grizzly's not a guy that's been in and out of the lineup, of course, but like you said earlier, like Shattenkirk doesn't play. Like maybe that's a guy there you could have used in that spot, or just
No, I'll say that
fair. Okay.
Shattenkirk wouldn't have done anything better there.
But no, I mean,
But
like my point is like Grizzly is a guy that gets magnified because, like you said, there are people
yeah,
that want
totally.
him out of the lineup, and when it's like you just said, him that does it, or it happens to you, like, all right, like again, that's another Montgomery mistake there, or one you could point back to the head coach of like, why is he out there in the first place? He really hasn't done a whole lot for you in this series. So again, it to sound like you said a broken record, frustrating is just such an understatement of how things went last night.
Yeah, I gotta find this tweet from Scott McLaughlin. He had a good point. Jim Montgomery said Saturday night we're gonna see how much we've learned because we'll see by our start on Tuesday. The start on Tuesday was well, not good.
Not great. Yeah.
Not great, Jim. It actually works because his name is Jim.
How do you feel about, because I was talking with my dad about this at dinner and he kind of liked it. I'm more on the opposite side because again, I think you can pin a lot of last night on him. But the comments about, I don't know what the question was that he was asked, but the I'm pissed off comments, I'll be pissed off today, I'll be pissed off.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad you're pissed off, Jim. Like, again, like fans are pissed off, but like I don't know. Like that response just doesn't sit well with me again because of like, dude, you continue to do these unnecessary things. Like that's cool that you're pissed off, but back it up now with some smart decisions. And
which is great that you brought that up because I was like, I'm thinking of a Jim Montgomery quote and I can't find it. And you just said it. And I was talking to Matt about this. I like Montgomery overall. He's not a good decision maker when shit like this happens. He makes some of these decisions that's wrong. He doesn't do it all the time, but it gets magnified when he does. And he's done it before. This isn't a new thing.
He's done it in big spots too, which is the worst, possible thing.
He's like, he's oddly snarky sometimes when I don't think he needs to be, and I don't really like it.
Yep.
Like,
you get that vibe a little bit. Like it's cool when you're joking about it, like early in the series, the goaltender stuff. But now when you're making these mistakes and they're doing it constantly, it's like, all right, it's getting your stick's getting old, buddy. Like
it's a little
you need to figure it out here.
It doesn't always feel like super necessary. It just kind of doesn't always sit right.
It's Belichicky, but less of an a-hole.
Yeah,
like tone like behind
variant of it in a weird way. Zaka and Coyle were combined 10 of 31 on the dot. I think Megan Chaika tweeted that out, so shout out to her. Awful from guys that you rely on. Sketch, which is funny. I just got a notification from Twitch that he just went live on Twitch. That's crazy. Sketch, internet's celebrity right now, is on the Bruins bandwagon. Doesn't surprise me that Elaine Cavallari probably is the one that sent this. She's run the best, most engaged TikTok in the NHL this year. She's probably like, hey, Sketch the Bruins jersey on. That's more eyes on our TikTok. He was pumped. He said he'll join the team. I'll join the team. He's the best. I can't believe it. One of my buddies sent me the videos. Like, there's just no way he has a Bruins jersey, right? Like, that's bizarre. But he was wearing one. It was pretty awesome. If you look at this chart, you don't have to know what it means. You just got to read the glossary here at the bottom, Ryan.
Okay.
Trent Frederick's at the top. You can, look at the different colors, piece together things. The guys at the bottom, what's the actual name for this? It's a chart of like game score competition.
I was going to say, I was going to hope you explain this because you told me to look at it, but the people that may be listening today or tomorrow will not be able to look at what you're talking about because
it's like
have access to this.
A game score composition chart, and this is impossible to explain the actual metrics over a podcast, but there's offense, defense, on ice offense, on ice defense, power play, penalty kill, and there are these bars. They go left and right from the median. The guys at the bottom, David Pastrnak, obviously signifying the worst metrics in here. David Pastrnak, Brandon Carlo, Brad Marchand, Denton Heinen, Charlie Coyle, Pavel Zacha, Hampus Lindholm.
Not great.
That is
a lot of top guys.
That is from the bottom, starting at Pastrnak up to Lindholm. That's real bad. And this was a game, and this kind of highlights it. I'm not going to harp on Marchand. Like, he didn't, he could have done more here, but like Marchand's done his fair share.
Marchand has come alive in this series. Absolutely. Like hasn't been a problem of late.
Yeah, like Pastrnak has done it too, but not at the same extent.
Yeah.
That was a game Pastrnak needed take over and do something big,
Mhm.
and he didn't. And he needs to be criticized for that
You're still
because
kind of waiting on that. Like he's had some moments here
Mhm.
and there, but you're really waiting. Like, I mean, Austin
Yeah, and he had the
Matthews hasn't done a
dagger in
whole lot
game
either, but
4.
like, yeah,
He had the dagger in game 4, but like there's another level. That's where I'll leave it at. Like I'm not gonna be one of those people that absolutely loses their mind over Pasternak on Twitter because that's just not worth my energy at all,
Mhm.
and it's stupid. He needed to be a lot better in this game, in particular, like
Mhm.
really, really much better. Um, they need a game where he is like vintage pasta, and it hasn't
Yep.
quite happened, and it feels like he's due, but we'll see. Um, it just wasn't good. Like it was just an inverse of game 4. It was really disheartening, and I like with this group, I just can't believe it happens.
Mhm.
Like I can't believe it. You got to back up what you say about this group all the time, how special it is, and that performance didn't. It's that simple.
Yep.
Um, really uninspiring. But they have 2 more chances left if they fuck it up. Oh boy. It's gonna be an interesting offseason, but we don't have to worry about that until we hopefully don't actually have to worry about it. Let's just
Yeah,
not worry about
exactly.
it. Let's
Let's
win.
not. Yeah, let's not worry about it.
Um, Emotional. Potentially Jack's last home game. As a broadcaster, the tears flowed when I saw that clip today. They won't flow now. Uh, it sucks. He's the best. I'm not gonna wax poetic again, but it's knowing that seeing his message to Brick and Brick's message back was really special. They're the best. They're part of our childhood. I'll never forget them. Um, Anything else from you in this game?
No, I mean, I've said my spiel. Like, I can't, but I can. Because again, I think this type of stuff is in their DNA at this point. But I hope
Yeah.
they can come back and figure it out for Game 6. Again, you played 2 of the best games of the series in your opponent's barn, so try to figure out what you did and what worked then. Um, for Jim Montgomery's sake, please, for the love of God, keep the lines the same or put them back to what they were when it worked. Um, like I joked before, don't be coming out with 3 new defensive pairings and 2 new forward lineup changes and all
Hmm.
this other bullshit that you don't need to do because again, like someone needs to tell him the old phrase of if it ain't broke, don't fix it because I don't think he has ever learned that in his life. It seems like.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at on him. Like and like you said, if things go south, I don't know what you do. Like I'm
Yeah.
not saying blow it up type of thing, but
Yeah.
I think you definitely have to consider looking at the head coach of,
What the
are you the
hell?
right guy to lead this?
Derek White just got like knocked
You get
over.
laid out again?
Um, yeah, you need to take a page out of Toronto's book here and come out fast, shoot the
Yeah,
puck a
absolutely.
lot. Find some semblance of what you had in game 4 because that same formula probably won't work twice, but it might.
Mhm.
Um, and now you're on the road against the hot goalie, maybe hot goalie, like early stages of being hot. Joe Wool comes in this one, plays really good. I'm not surprised. Unfortunately, I watched Joe Wool in his career at BC. He's a good goalie. He's dealt with some injury trouble this year, but he's back. Um, you got to beat him. Like he's good, but
Yeah.
he's beatable.
Mhm.
Like he's good, but he's beatable. And I know that. I've watched the guy a lot. Um, this team is just capable of it too. They've beaten better goalies this season.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that. Um,
Take a page out of Toronto's book and play as the desperate team too. Like
yeah,
having the, I mean, what I say, having the back of your mind that if you lose this game, you're now putting all the pressure on yourselves going into Game 7. So maybe don't do that because we've seen this team crack under pressure before. But like, I would like some of that to be like, hey, let's not even make that a consideration that we have to maybe go back to
yeah,
Boston tied
right,
3-3. Like, let's end this thing now. So we'll see if they
yeah.
can do it.
So
But
the lineup changes. We talked about Beecher. Like you can't. I hope the faceoffs weren't a huge, grasping point here for taking him out. I do just maintain what I said. I think that Monty has a short leash with him because he's a rookie. Um, we saw
just,
Patra skate randomly. Speaking of rookies, I don't think we'll see him back. I
mhm,
feel like that's just early stages. We didn't see Forward come in. I think that was smart. Just too risky. He
yeah.
hasn't had a good season. He's got a foot injury he's been dealing with. I don't want a guy with a foot injury on that's not necessarily fast or fast really at all. Coming in, it's just not worth the risk. Say what you want about Grizzly, at least he could have provided some puck moving, and he got that goal scoring sequence started. I'll give him credit with that dump
Mhm.
in. So basic stuff, but you got to give the guy credit a little bit. I just don't think. it was super necessary, and I think they felt it was necessary to change that up because they just didn't feel comfortable with what Shattenkirk was giving them, and it came down to, do you want the ice cold potential of Forbert, or do you want the guy that's more fresh and grizzly and could play some good shifts with McAvoy, take some pressure off a lower route, whatever it is. This is a game you had Peak for, and he's hurt. A situation like this, or just to have in the lineup to begin with. So that stings. I think Peak would have been a difference maker last night. Does he help them win the game? I don't know.
Just the physicality changes everything.
If they keep the lineup the exact same, do they win the game? Probably not the way they played. Like you can say, but like it's all just grasping at straws. It sucks. But I don't know. It would suck less if they lost off of like something else happening on the game winner. Like Grizzly's not strong enough, doesn't make the right play, and it ends quickly in overtime. I think they won the game in less than like 2.5 minutes in overtime. Swayman staying in was the right choice, even in a loss. But now it makes an interesting situation because you should just stick with Swayman. He's the hotter goalie, but he's also never. This would be an unprecedented territory for him in terms of games in a row. But you also have the opportunity now to say, hey, we don't need to start Swayman 4 games in a row if we have Ullmark, because Ullmark's still good. Do you go to Ullmark because Swayman lost and you don't want to overuse him, or do you ride the hot hand? There's merit both ways. I'm sticking with Swayman.
Yeah, I think if you do that, you are opening yourself up for another situation like last year where now, say, Ullmark takes a loss in game 6. What the hell do you do in game 7?
You go back to Swayman, but then
but then he's cold.
But then, and then you're wondering like why you didn't just stick with Swayman.
Yep,
you don't want to take. You shouldn't take that chance. It's different if Swayman didn't give you a chance to win this game.
Yeah, absolutely. If he gets blown out,
Swayman has proven to us, maybe the anger around the arbitration has fueled him this year.
I think you could argue that absolutely.
He's proven that he's kind of a psycho competitor. He's got a little tick in him. I say kind of because we haven't seen him like explode or anything on anyone or do anything crazy, but like we've seen with the little shoves in the crease, like he's a little tapped, and goalies are weird to begin with. He's motivated. Like he made that tongue-in-cheek comment last week, like week and a half ago, like it's about time they gave him the start before game 1. He's motivated. He said after they lost last year, like this won't happen again. He said after last night, this won't happen again. Let him prove it. Like it's that simple. Goalie committees were not common for so much of our upbringing for a reason. And some teams still ride one goalie. Do it. Because if you fuck it up like you did last year, part of that was because Ullmark was hurt. It's a little different. Swayman's got another year experience under his belt. I think this year's experience has been huge for his playoff success. Don't fuck it up. Roll with the hot guy. Ullmark will get it. He made that comment, like, I'm not gonna like be a crybaby about it yesterday. He gets it. Like, I think he'd rather sit on the bench and win the series. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Like, if it wins the series, why the hell would he care?
Yeah.
Especially if Swayman can replicate what he's done and absolutely tear it up. He's playing like a man possessed, even in a losing effort last night. Don't overthink it. And I'm worried that he will. Like, I'm not going to freak out if they put Ullmark in, but I'm worried it's going to be him. And, it could potentially end poorly. I don't think you take that risk this time. Ride the hot hand. If you win the series, you can reevaluate the rotation, what you want to do against Florida. And that's a problem that is on the horizon, but one that shouldn't even be in your mind.
Yeah.
Ride the hot hand. But like I said, there is merit to both sides, but it's going to piss people off, and that's fine. I totally get it. But that's just the way I see it right now.
Yeah, I think I kind of echo the side. Maybe not echo, because like I said, I'm more on the side that if they do make a change, I will be absolutely livid, because I'm with you. Ride the hot guy. Don't set yourself up for, if you have to go to a game 7, set yourself up for failure with now questions about your goaltending for a second straight year. I think it would be stupid to, I know I joke. If you want to make changes to your lineup. That's okay, but don't change the goalie when you don't have to. And that he has not been the problem.
Fucking the goalie stuff up too just adds to, like, it becomes kind of Montgomery's legacy and gives them more of a reason to fire him if they feel compelled to, if they blow this. it'd be crazy from the standpoint of, the record he's put together and how he's equipped teams to get here. But there is merit when you have similar screw ups, if they were to
Two
screw this up,
utter collapses
to
potentially. Yeah. Yep.
fire him. Like his job is on the line, and he knows that. He's got to know that a little bit, or else he's just in la la land, which I
Mhm.
doubt. Um, yeah, game 6, game 7. Let's hope it doesn't even take a game 7 because
Yeah, exactly.
um, you've won on the road twice. You know how to do it. Toronto's going to have a different approach, of course, than they did in 3 and 4. Be ready for it. It's that simple. I say it's that simple a lot. I've noticed that, but it's just a good
It
way
really
to
is though. Yeah.
it's a good way to emphasize things.
Mhm.
Let's be real. It's that simple.
Yep. There you go.
A couple other notes before we get into series, just some quick stuff. John Cooper signs an extension the night after they're bounced, potentially Stamkos' last game as a member of the Lightning. And I don't know if you saw the Rod Brind'Amour stuff about they're having trouble signing him long term.
I did not
Really
see that.
weird for contract stuff to come out about a coach after they just clinched a playoff series.
That's a little strange. Yeah, it's I don't know who would drop that potential possible time. That's a little weird.
Yeah, it just stuck out to me. There's really not a ton in terms of like player signings, but I did want to highlight Alex Vlasic signed an extension with the Blackhawks, potential future big time piece of their defensive core. Took on maybe some of the hardest minutes for a defenseman in the whole league as a rookie. He's like 6'6", BU graduate. Well, I don't know if he's graduated yet, but he went to BU, so I've had some familiarity watching him. I didn't think he'd be this good right away. I'll put my hand up. He was awesome in a horrible role for him as a young player who's 23, but he handled it well and he got rewarded. He got 6 by 27.6 from the Blackhawks, who sure have money to spend. Got some prospects signed in Andrew Gibson, Nikita Grebionkin. Samuel Poulin gets an extension with the Penguins. Drew a blank there. Some other prospects signing Otto Stenberg, first round pick last year. The Blues signs, and the Blues make some other moves, cleaning some stuff up. That's about it, though. I wanted to highlight the Vlasic thing because I think it was a good deal, and I think it could age tremendously well the way he's going, in the way things could continue to trend if they continue to put better players around him in that rebuild because he had an awesome year. Let's check in with the rest of the playoffs. The Capitals didn't get one. Ovi was held without any points.
Wow, I didn't know that about that
Maybe it
series.
was just goals. I think it was points. He had one shot in like 2 of the games.
Jesus.
Um, he took a lot of the blame. It was a tough season for him up and down. He really came along to get them there, but wasn't enough. They just got outmatched. It was a matchup nightmare. It is what it is. That series is over. Islanders really struggled to keep momentum when they have it, and they blow things again. I think it was game 2 or 3 was the big blowout, the big
Game two
collapse.
was
It
the
looks like game 2, yeah. They won in double OT. They won once. That's good. That's a cool moment. But they were just outmatched. We talked about it. It wasn't happening for the Isles. They were lucky to get in the playoffs. It is what it is. Sorry, Isles fans. I think a lot of them are pretty realistic about it, but that's just how I feel.
I was
This
gonna
one was
ask that.
surprising. Yeah,
Sorry,
go
really
ahead.
quick. Like, I imagine being an Islanders fan. You sit through that double overtime to get that win to stave off elimination. You may be feeling a little bit good, like, all right, maybe like we got a chance in this series, and then you come out and just get just the shit kicked out of you in game five. Like, put all that hope up maybe for
Wow.
just another utter collapse in the next game. Like that kind of sucks if
Right.
you're an Islanders fan.
Yeah, it really does. It just wasn't meant to be. Apparently, it wasn't meant to be for the Lightning too, and I'm not surprised that they lost. I'm surprised they lost in 5 games because it's the
Same.
Lightning. But you look at that defensive core. I think we have guys like Lilleberg, who probably nobody knows, and Max Crozier from Providence College, who's getting his first playoff reps, and one other name I'm drawing a blank on. I think some younger guys, definitely a lesser Tampa roster, but at the top still very good. They still have Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky made some awesome saves in the series. Bobrovsky did too. I think in terms of like highlight reel saves, that was the best series. Like there were some awesome saves in that series. The Tampa dynasty, if you needed any confirmation, is over. This just is what it is. They lose a
Mhm.
big guy every offseason. Palat, Killorn. Maybe it's Stamkos this year, which is crazy.
That is
But they're
wild.
gonna they're
Yeah.
gonna try like hell to sign him. But he has expressed displeasure about how things have gone during the season with contract negotiations. Um, so we'll see what happens there. The Lightning season is over. We got Golden Knights and Stars playing right now. It is 1-1. That series is tied 2-2. Tough start for Dallas, but they bounce back. So they bounce back on the road too, which is weird. Everybody's winning on the road in this series. Been a great series. Really wanted to stay after that third period game 4. Couldn't. Body wouldn't let me. Mind wouldn't let me. Sleepy time. Great series though. Really good. Not super high scoring either. Every score is like around the same. The most goals have been scored is only 7 once. So good tight series. My bracket is dead. I had the Jets riding off the momentum of beating the Colorado Avalanche and taking it, and Connor Hellebuck winning a Conn Smythe. I told you this.
It was not one of your better
I
picks.
was expecting the possibility of the Avalanche winning because they're the Avalanche. After a horrible game 1, Georgiev completely locked in. Hellebuck had a horrible game 1 too. It was crazy, goals galore. He didn't lock in, which doesn't make any sense. It should have been the other way around. It wasn't. If I'm a Jets fan, I'm terrified for the future because they have Connor Hellebuck locked in for the next 7 seasons. I'm not saying it's over. I'm not saying it's over for
It's
him
not a
leading
good
that to a
omen, that's
cup.
for sure.
But he had like almost 5.5 goals against. Maybe he hit that.
What the hell did they stick with him for so long for then? I get that
He
he's a good goalie, but like you got to make a decision at some. I know we just talked about Montgomery's shortcomings when it comes to goalie decisions, but holy crap!
he
It's just like,
he
oh, he'll
was
get
the
it next time. Don't
backbone.
worry, put him back
He
out
was the
there.
backbone to my bracket being good, and he collapsed in a way I've never seen a goalie of his caliber
It was
collapse.
bad, yeah.
It was awful. Multiple games of 6 goals plus allowed. Just terrible. I can't even be that mad that my bracket's busted because this was like a collapse from him
Unprecedented.
of unprecedented nature.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not all on him. I'm not going to dive into it too deep. It's not all on him. I would be kind of terrified if I was a Jets fan right now. Is this what's going to happen in the playoffs now? He's never going to do this bad again. It's almost impossible.
You
But
gotta have in the back of your mind, though. Like,
I wonder, can we win a cup with this guy that we have for the next 7 years that we could have traded in the summer? Teams were
that would have been
interested.
somebody else's problem. Yeah.
There was reports that he wasn't going to sign last season. They eventually got it done. He's really got to figure it out because he showed he is not a playoff goaltender for the time being. That was horrendous. One of the most shocking things I've ever watched in hockey to see him collapse like that. It was awful. They win 7-6 in game 1. They lose 5-2, 6-2, 5-1, 6-3. Like, sure, the forwards can score more. Whatever. That's not the issue. Mind
the Fords could score more,
robbed us of what should have been a perfectly wonderful 6-7 game series.
Yeah, you expected this. You expected it to be close
to be the best
and a coin
series.
flip, absolutely. But you expected every game to be like a nail biter, 3-2, 2-1 type of game with the level of these two teams. Like, and you said, I know you just said that some people argue like, yeah, the Fords could have maybe scored more for the Jets, but like, at what point do you sit there and go, okay, could the goalie make a stop? Like, we can score as much as we want, but if the goalie's giving up 6-7 goals a night, like that's not on us anymore.
They almost lost the game. They won. That was one of the craziest playoff games in the past 20 years. Unbelievable, like unprecedented stuff. We get the Predators and the Canucks. Predators lead 3-2. It's been a pretty competitive series. I've enjoyed this one. It started off lower on the viewership scale. Don't know what they're at now, but it's been a pretty entertaining series. And the Predators, as we expected, are fighting hard. The Canucks, who knows when they're getting Thatcher Demko back? Not nominated as a top 3 for the Vezina with Connor Hellebuck. We got the Norris finalists. We got Hughes, Yossi, also in the series, Yossi, and Yossi and Hughes and Makar. I think that's Quinn Hughes' reward to win. I think Hellebuck will still win the Vezina because he's the best goalie. But oh my God, if playoff stats factored into it, no chance. No chance. The Stars just took a 2-1 lead. Matt Duchene. Good series, really good series. I don't really have a ton specific to say besides the collapse by the Predators in game 4 was insane. I don't know how much you saw of that.
I did not see any of it.
The Canucks scored 2 goals in the last 3 minutes. Brock Besser scores a hat trick. Colton Sissons on a contested empty net chance hits a post. The Canucks eventually go on to make that hurt and score with 8 seconds left and then win in overtime. Really a heartbreaker, especially at home. That was the game. I don't know if you saw the clip of Taylor Lewan and his daughter. He chugs the beer, then his daughter chugs the water. Everybody goes crazy.
I did not see that either. I'll have to look that up.
stinks for Predators fans that it had to end that way, but that's just playoff hockey. Sometimes it's a cruel mistress. Um, Oilers and Kings. The Oilers dominated at the onset. Kings got redemption with an OT win, and then the Oilers dominated them in game 3, 6-1. They scored a goal so easy in that game that like Hyman and Draisaitl were laughing, like, how do they let us do this? Like the play they had drawn up. And then they win a nail biter randomly, 1-0 in game 4. That I didn't catch any of that game. It was too late. I was asleep. I don't know if I had anything else going on that night. I don't remember what night it was, but we got another game in that series tonight, I believe. So that's about it. I mean, the Oilers are just asserting their dominance. They should win the series tonight if game 5 is in fact tonight. So I believe it is actually. That's it. That's playoffs. That's where we're at. Hasn't been the most exciting, to be honest. We've had some lopsided series, but we've also had some great classic moments. So you'll take what you can get. A lot of people believe this is the most exciting round of the NHL playoffs for a reason, because it's just chaos and anyone can win. But it's only going to get better at this rate. That's about it, though. Any closing hockey thoughts for you before we segue into basketball?
Not that I can think of.
All righty. Let's go ahead and do that basketball then.
All right, yeah, Celtics, they are currently up, I believe, when it went to commercial a second ago, 32-16 on the Miami Heat, so everything is going according to plan tonight. I apologize to you because I can't remember what I told you to take for Derek White's point total. I did not tell you to take enough of Derek White's point total because he has 15 points again in the first quarter right now, so he is, someone needs to take the Wikipedia page like they do when everyone tends to dominate a certain team, and change the owner of the Miami Heat to Derek White, because he is, in fact, their owner. He is in Pedro Martinez. Tip your cap and call, Derek White your daddy type of thing, because he's been dominant in these last couple of games. But we'll start with the games we missed. The game 2 performance that I'm sure you, like me, were not all that worried about, because it was just the typical Miami Heat dark magic game against the Celtics, where Miami comes into the Garden and shoots the lights out for some reason with all the scrubs that they have, going 23 of 43 from deep, shooting over 50% from the three-point line. Celtics didn't get any help outside of Tatum and Brown, who had Brown had 33, of course, and Tatum at 28. But Porzingis had a rough game, probably his worst game in the Celtics uniform. We'll obviously get to Porzingis a little bit more later on with what has happened and what has come out about him of late, and what that could mean for the future of the Celtics moving forward. But Porzingis looked not overmatched, but I mean, I also don't want to say outworked, because Porzingis has had
shocked. What was
a
the
good
last time
season.
he played in the playoffs? Do you know? Has he played in the playoffs?
Yeah, he's played plenty of times. A couple of years ago with Dallas.
Okay. I like truly didn't know. I probably should have known a little bit, but
at least I think he
really
made it with
don't know.
Dallas when he was there. I don't know if he made it with the Knicks his first couple of years in the league. Definitely didn't make it with Washington, because we know how bad Washington is. But yeah, I mean, shell shocked is a good way to describe it, because I mean, he got taken to town in game 2, which was kind of tough to see. And then Drew Holiday was not great either. So again, Tatum and Brown get no help. And it's bad in game 2 when Peyton Pritchard plays 20 minutes and does not attempt a single shot, which is not great. You'd like to see a little bit more and just, maybe get some energy going there. But they did get the energy going in game 3. The Heat, they turned back into the scrubs that they are, 9 of 28 from 3, 12 turnovers, leading to 24 points off of those turnovers for the Celtics. Of course, Boston kind of flips the script on Miami. They bounce back and they outwork the Heat on both ends, with 10 offensive rebounds to the Heat's 9, 4 steals to Miami's 2, 6 blocks to Miami's 2, and just 6 turnovers for the Celtics to Miami's 12, which of course was 24-4 in points off of turnovers in favor of the Celtics. Pritchard, he flipped the script. He was excellent off the bench and somewhat of a different role than he was used to. Yes, you were right. You told me to take Pritchard's point total, and I don't know. I think I was in the right a little bit. Again, coming off a game where he did not attempt a single shot. 6.5 point total. Well, crazy to say, not great.
Ninja dust.
Yeah, you had that right. So he was great. 25 minutes, 7 points. He pretty much locked down Tyler Hero, which you don't think of when you think of Peyton Pritchard as a defensive specialist. But he was great off the bench. His energy was really good. And then, the usual suspects were good for the Celtics. Tatum and Brown were excellent once again. Porzingis had a great bounce back game. I thought he wanted to obviously set the tone pretty early in game 3, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. And Derek White kind of showed off what we are coming to see from him of late. 16 points in this one as well. In game 3, I don't know if you saw this or heard Scal on the broadcast, because I know you said this series you've kind of been flipping back and forth between the NBC broadcast.
Yeah, NBC's been ahead of TNT a lot, and
which is weird. You told me that the other day.
Some watch on NBC. Like, we all got to get in sync here.
Yeah, absolutely. But there was a good moment that Scal had, a good moment where I know Joe Mazzulla is a guy that has caught in some flack in the past of, in-game adjustments, in-game coaching, stuff like that. But Scal brought up a point that really showed, maybe some growth from Mazzulla. Early in this game, the Heat, Scal said, were playing, a lot more physical than the Celtics, with more so the hand checking stuff which they were letting go. And there was one point in the game, Celtics were maybe, giving up a little bit of a run to the Heat, where Mazzulla called a timeout, and then Scal said it right afterwards. You could see the Celtics were playing more physical. They were, being more aggressive, more hand checking, stuff like that. And he brought up a point where he said, I wonder if Joe Mazzulla maybe told the Celtics that, like, hey, pay attention to this. You can guard guys by putting your hands on them, and they're not going to call it. And obviously that kind of turned the tide for the Celtics a little bit, with, again, how well their defense played in that game. So I thought that was an interesting kind of talking point. I don't know, you're shaking your head there. Maybe if you saw that or just had some thoughts on it.
No, I didn't hear that that like storyline there. So
Okay.
good to know.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. And again, maybe a little bit of growth there for Joe Mazzulla, which is good to see because again, he has come under fire of it at times with the in-game stuff. So that was good to see him there. And then game 4 was I feel like against the Heat, the annual Derek White dominates the Miami Heat game. 41 minutes, 38 points. I think a new playoff career high for him potentially, or just maybe a career high in general. Not really sure about that. I meant to check that today. 8 threes, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 blocks. But of course, the biggest concern in this game, kind of the biggest talking point, has been the Porzingis injury. Left the game with what we thought was the worst at first, maybe an Achilles injury or an ACL on a non-contact play. At first, it was called calf tightness. We now know it is it soleus, is how you say that? A right soleus strain, which is kind of funny. It's something that I had never heard of until the last 2 days, because apparently that's what Giannis has been out with too. So kind of funny that injury has crept up to 2 of the more well-known players in the league. But on the Porzingis stuff, in case people missed it, this is from Woj, said Celtics center Kristaps Porzingis is expected to miss a minimum of several games with right soleus strain, according sources tell ESPN. Tim Bontemps kind of said the same thing. Out with a soleus strain, it's the same injury that Giannis has missed the entire Bucks and Pacers series with so far. And then this was from Jeff Stotts, who's an injury analyst for RotoWire and a certified athletic trainer on Twitter. This was all, I think he was also talked about on the post-game show last night or a couple nights ago for the Celtics. He said KP suffered the same injury that is currently keeping Giannis sidelined. As I mentioned then, the soleus is part of the calf muscle complex. The average time lost for strain specified as a soleus injury is around 17 days, which is equivalent to 6 games. Chris Forsberg on the post-game show and tweeted this out the other night. He said key dates to keep in mind for the Celtics moving forward with Porzingis' injury. 5-5 is game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals if both series are done in 6 games or less. 5/21 is the start of the Eastern Conference Finals, which is potentially moved up to as early as the 19th of this month. And then, of course, 6/6 is the start of the NBA Finals. He said that the start of the Eastern Conference Finals is a more realistic timeline or timetable return for Porzingis. Where are you at on him? Because obviously not playing tonight, it's kind of come out that he's probably not going to be ready for the start of next series. Didn't expect him to be when he went down with the injury. Obviously, Celtics catch or dodge a major bullet with this injury not being as worse as it possibly could have been. How are you feeling? Celtics, of course, were 21-4 this season without Porzingis. I did not know the record was that good without Porzingis, and obviously he missed a lot of time this year. But where are you at with him? What are your thoughts moving forward? How they should handle this? Do you go with, as long as he needs? Do you maybe, if he's ready to go at some point, kind of bring him back at not 100%? Where are you at in the whole Porzingis thing? Because I know I've kind of rambled on a little bit here and want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I think and do hope they'll be fine because they've dealt with him in another lineup for load management or not the whole season, and they're extremely deep.
Mm-hmm.
They won the game when he left. Unfortunately, the twisted ankle and then the calf strain. At first, I thought it looked like it could have been knee, so I was like, "Oh my god, did he just tear his ACL?"
Yeah, that's where I was at too. Yep.
Or his meniscus or something. They're all bad in that region. Any tear. But I don't know. Like this team is they're too good. They're playing on a mission, and I don't think it's gonna affect them too drastically. Hopefully, so I'm hopeful that is the case. 21-4 without him is absurd. That kind of gives you some comfort as well.
What are your thoughts on their title?
They saw that too, and they're like, we can't lose this game. Like, let's win for him and, take care of business hopefully tonight. And they're doing that really well so far. They're up
Absolutely.
18,
yep.
So
what are your thoughts on there? Because a buddy of mine was texting me actually during the game as soon as he went, or a couple minutes after he went out, maybe at halftime it happened. But apparently the Celtics title odds not drastically, but dropped. He said, I didn't look it up to see what it was, but he said they did go down when Porzingis went out with the injury. Obviously, there's been some talking heads that have kind of had the same thought process of the Celtics title odds have taken now I've seen people say a massive hit that Porzingis is hurt. I don't know if I'd say massive, but I think it obviously now is going to depend on, who they get. If they obviously get to the finals, what matchup would be preferable if Porzingis isn't 100% ready to go. But to say their title hopes are like not dashed, but you know what I mean, like substantially hurt by this injury, they shouldn't be. Like it should, to me, still be Brown and Tatum are the two guys that should lead you to the promised land. Like Porzingis, as we know, was a nice complementary piece and definitely changed their offense as a whole this year and years prior. But I don't know, like you feel the same way. I feel like that, like it's a big loss. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like massive like some people are making it out to be. I feel like I mean, like unless you get Denver, like that's the big one is Denver. That would be a huge mismatch in favor of the Nuggets if you don't have Porzingis out there, because I think he's the best chance you obviously have of maybe not neutralizing Jokic, but trying to stop him to some degree. But where you're at on that, like I feel like I said, you kind of share the same thought that I do, that like it's not all doom and gloom, but there is a little bit of concern with who you get when you get if you get there.
Yeah, like it shouldn't affect the title hopes too much. It just depends how long. Like it's this is the simple boring answer. It depends how long it takes him to come back. Like, and of course, like if it does linger, like is this the same injury that could linger, or is it something else he's been dealing with? Because he's had other stuff going on, like something else. He's had other injuries, so we'll see how it like specifically affects him because we just don't know. So overall, I've just been pretty happy like with how they've handled things. You had the voodoo in game 2, that is what it is.
No.
Game 3 took care of business. Pritchard coming off the bench was nice. It's kind of weird, like him and Hauser have games where they're quiet, but when you win, it doesn't really matter. They'll show up.
Yep.
They'll show up when they need to. It just depends on when they need to. And game 4 was just another take care of business win. Like it got a little dicey at times. I think Jaylen Brown, like even in game 3 where he played really good, he has like the occasional like boneheaded annoying decision. Not as much in game 3. I noticed it like once or twice. But game 4, like he just really makes some bizarre decisions sometimes. Mainly offensively. But I don't know. You'll take the good with the bad, but you just gotta hope that doesn't bite you in the back. And against the Heat, especially the way they're going right now, I don't think it really will. But you just gotta clean that up. I don't know, that it's been good. It's been good. Nothing to really complain about too much. I love that Tatum is making things personal with Caleb Martin more and more.
Absolutely, yeah, that was nice to see, wasn't it?
Which is quite justified. We had some pushing and shoving last night as well. With the whole Bam Adebayo thing. I'll say this about Tatum too. Tatum flopped like 3 or 4 times last night, which I don't love.
Done it a couple times, yeah.
When he flopped a little bit in the Adebayo thing, he grabbed his leg like he snapped it, and I thought Jason Tatum's season was over. I was like, whoa,
I thought we had another ankle injury.
He flopped. I was like, come on, dude, you're flopping. Then he's grabbing it. I was like, oh my god, did he not flop? Did he actually break something?
I was right there with you. I thought the same exact thing. I'm like, all right, come on, like what are we doing?
Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me, please.
Were you in the camp of Stan Van Gundy where Tatum, did that to himself and kind of deserved that injury? Because that was a hell of a comment from Van Gundy.
I'm happy.
Whose brother works for the Celtics, by the way. Like, I'm sure he appreciated hearing that.
Can you elaborate on the whole Van Gundy thing a little more?
I mean, I'm probably not the best person to ask because I was watching the NBC broadcast, sports broadcast, so I didn't hear it in live time. Trying to find it on Twitter or just kind of what I saw people say is basically, I don't know if he said specifically like, oh, Tatum deserved that, but I think he more so was in the lines of like with the way the Celtics have, like you said, the couple hiccups that the Celtics had at times. I think he was more like, why is Tatum putting himself in that position? Like, what are you taking a shot for there? To have Bam close out on you and potentially like hurt you. So I think that's kind of where he was at. But again, like in the moment, stupid thing to say. Like people are going to take it out of context, whether you meant it or not. And with Van Gundy, like people already don't like him to begin with. I think he's kind of an idiot on the broadcast sometimes. So that obviously is not something he's got going for him either. So just kind of a crappy situation there where you weren't going to win, regardless of what you said. But definitely could have been handled better.
Yeah. All right. That's all I need to know. Awesome.
Right,
So I put in some live bets at 6 3-pointers, which he missed one right after, which stunk in the second half with Derek White. made me sweat towards the end. Started missing him in the second half.
Oh, I
Weird.
thought you meant tonight again. I was gonna say
No,
'cause that
no,
worked
no.
out
We're
for you
talking about
last
game
week.
four.
Gotcha.
He hits the final three in the final minute, and I live bet Tatum over 10.5 rebounds as well. That hits on the last play. Just
Yep.
a stat patter, like taking care of business, grab the ball, seal it.
Mhm.
Unbelievable. Derek White. I found a picture. I posted it of the Sydney Sweeney Hot Ones meme where she's looking all like she's dazzled up in the sky, and
Yeah.
it's just a picture of Derek White
Derek
with like this
White's
green like
floating
alien
bald head.
looking
Yeah.
strange effect around his head. All hail Derek White. That was unbelievable. He he's doing it tonight, and he did it in game four,
Mhm.
where he can just take over a game. And it's usually in the second half, usually in the fourth quarter. I think that's
And
happened a
that's
lot
why the
this year.
Porzingis injury shouldn't, like, again, it's
Yeah,
going to factor in, but like you said, they're as deep as they've ever been. Like Derek White's a guy that could step up and go for
dude,
20,
yeah.
25 plus. Like that's
And if
why
you
this shouldn't be
needed
that big of a
if you needed
loss.
more reason to be like he's the guy that, needs to take clutch shots, you have it. And now he's not saying he hasn't done this at all this season, but like he's showing up early and he's like, okay,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
know I'm not the main scorer on this team, JB and JT are, but like I can do this and I'm going to do it if they let me. And
Yep.
they have let him.
And they said and
And
they let him half the
hey,
time, so it's fine.
I'm not gonna totally blame that on the Heat. They've let him to an extent,
Hmm.
but like he's also just been undeniable. Like I don't know if they could have stopped him in these situations, these runs, these hot
Hmm.
starts. I don't know if it was possible. He's hotter than the sun.
Yeah, I mean he's been excellent, and again, he's it's everything you could have asked for and more. And like I don't want to sound like, because I know there was a for the people that listen to the Boston Sports Talk Radio, were way back, with the Porzingis stuff. I think it was Felger that was had the egregious comment that Kristaps Porzingis, isn't going to be a factor in your title run. I don't want to make it come off like I'm saying like something that's stupid. But again, like you said, with how deep they are, with how you've had guys step up, like Holiday has not had a eye popping stat series, but he's been
He
great
hasn't he hasn't had to be.
defensively. Exactly. And he hasn't had to
Yeah.
be. And he's a
He
guy that
hasn't
I
had to
feel
be
like,
this huge offensive contributor.
but that's the thing. I feel like he's a guy that if you need him to, could go for, 12 plus,
Yes.
hit a couple of big threes for
Yes.
you. He's been great defensively the last, obviously since the hiccup in game two, where, he wasn't that bad defensively in that game anyway. But, his presence in games 3, 4, and, I don't know what he's done tonight, but, from what I've been able to see on the screen behind me, hasn't, done anything crazy that's going to hurt you. I mean, they're up big. I don't know what the score is right now because it went to commercial, but they're taking care of business. That's all I wanted. We weren't going to do a big preview for game 5, seeing that it's, halfway into it as we speak. But that was the thing, kind of what we talked about with the Bruins too. Like, don't take your foot off the gas, or like come prepared and ready to play.
Hmm.
Don't mess around with this Heat team, because we've seen them burn you in the past if you do that, and they haven't. They've been great right from the jump. They're up what,
Yep.
24, I think that is. So just keep it going. Again, I don't really care who they. I know there's been some people that have talked. Who's the better matchup in next round between Cleveland and the Magic, without Porzingis. I don't really care. You should be able to
It's
beat both those
dude.
teams. Like that series has not been
Okay.
impressive at all. Like,
Hold on a second here. Am I crazy for saying it's so obviously the Magic are the better matchup?
well, that's what. Yeah, the people that have. I mean, Cleveland's good, but again, they're a beatable team. So it's like, but I didn't understand that either when I've heard people argue like, oh, who do you rather want in that matchup? It's Orlando all the way.
Yeah.
I don't know
Also,
why that it's been a debate. I mean, Cleveland's also a worse matchup too because they have Mobley and I can't think of the other center
Jared
they have.
Allen.
Jared Allen, thank you.
I love his
Um,
hair. Cool hair.
it's one of the reasons why
Yeah.
he should stand out. But yeah, I mean, they from a matchup standpoint are gonna be more of an advantage because of the double bigs that they have, and the Celtics, from a height standpoint, can't match up against that now that Porzingis is out.
Like they have Okoro too. I don't know how good
Yeah,
he is
yep.
this year. They have
Donovan
some
Mitchell
guys there.
has big
Donovan
moments
Mitchell.
time and time again, but
Yeah.
again,
He
like
had
those
like
are
a
two
30
teams.
bomb early.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys like we've seen him hit 40 plus before. Hopefully he
Hmm.
doesn't do that against the Celtics. I'd be shocked if he did
Yeah,
against this
exactly.
type of team. But I wanted to highlight real quick, this isn't like a huge thing we need to uh sing praises for over and over again, but like as we were talking about Derek White and Drew Holiday, how about some love for Brad Stevens,
Yeah,
executive of the
executive of the year.
year?
That tweeted it out when it happened. The most obvious and well-deserving award that they're probably going to
Yes.
give out all season. Like,
Yes.
I'm sure maybe some people could argue, like, I know OKC put together a nice team of homegrown guys, so I don't know
Sorry.
how much executive goes into that. When it comes to like business decision, like trading decisions and stuff like that, and free agents. But it's so obviously Stevens, for what he the craziness at the time of, moving a guy like Marcus Smart and making a trade of, the defending sixth man of the year and a promising young center in Rob Williams, to make those big moves. And it obviously paid off pretty well. And then again, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, the findings of guys, obviously not this year, but like the Derek Whites, Xavier Tillman, has not done anything in this series. But down the stretch was great for the Celtics. So we talked about that, another, good find there. Same thing with a guy like Jaden Springer, Cornette, who was, had a couple of moments here in these last couple of games because he's had to play obviously with Porzingis. His development, finding a guy like that, like I said, most obvious award you could have given this season is Stevens for Executive of the Year, and very well deserving.
No doubt. Brad Stevens masterclass. How does he do it? How do they let him get away with this? It's like the Breaking Bad meme.
Yeah, they keep letting him
We
get
can
away
let
with
him
it.
get away
Yeah.
with this. I'm not gonna cry about it like Jesse.
No, absolutely not.
You know, Jesse was in a tough spot there.
Mhm.
Let's do a little perusal through the series like we did in the NHL. Anything that sticks out to you across the league, Ryan?
A little surprising that the Knicks weren't able to close things out last night, but when you get a 40, what was it, 45 plus, 46, I think he had last night from Tyrese Maxey, that's probably going to do you in if you're the Knicks. I can't remember if it was 46 or what he had, but had a very good game. I think the big thing in that series has been Joel Embiid. Not that the fact that he has become maybe one of the dirtiest players in the NBA with some of the stuff he has pulled in this series.
Dude, he is a highlight tape of dirty
Absolutely.
plays.
Just in this series alone, which is the crazy
I'm not
thing
even
too
just I'm not even just like saying that as a term. Like there is a highlight tape out there of all
of
the
him.
dirty plays he's made
Yeah.
this series.
Mhm.
There's like 5 or 6 of them in the same series.
Yeah, it's insane. But I
He
mean,
doesn't even really try and hide it.
nope.
He
I
just
mean, I don't know
does
how
shit.
you can defend pulling a guy down as you're laying on the floor as you go up for a layup. Like that's pretty dirty. But no, my bigger takeaway is that he has just not looked like himself in this series. The fact that this series has been able to go on into a game 6 again has been the workings of other 76ers players, again, mainly Tyrese Maxey stepping up last night because they needed it to. Knicks have been good all around. Knicks have been very surprising. I've been surprised they've been able to kind of outmuscle Philadelphia. Now, again, I think that goes into Embiid definitely not being 100%. And I'll give him credit because he's playing with, did you see I can't remember the disease or whatever it is that he's playing with. People know that have followed that series and have followed, the Sixers and Embiid know what I'm talking about. So I'll give him credit there, but he has just not looked like himself. And mainly that's part of the reason. Bucks and Pacers, surprising the Bucks were able to hold off the elimination last night, especially without Giannis and Lillard. To me, I feel like that's only a matter of time. Like if both those guys are out again in Game 6, Pacers at home should be able to finish that series off. So I wouldn't be surprised if that ends either tonight or tomorrow night. I don't know when they're playing. I think it's tomorrow night. We said Magic Cavaliers. Have you watched the second of this series? Like, I don't want to knock these two teams, but like we said it going in preview wise, probably the least anticipated series out of all of them. Like, I have not really spent a whole lot of time on Cavs Magic, to be honest, because there just isn't a lot to talk about there.
Yeah, there isn't.
Okay. Anything else in the Eastern Conference matchups that have kind of stood out to you? I feel like you maybe kind of echo the same thing with Embiid, and just any thoughts on that Bucks and Pacers series kind of getting a little wild?
I don't know. I will say on Embiid that I think my Embiid prediction is starting to look a little better.
Well, you had him going to who? You had him going to was it the Knicks that you predicted?
Oh, I was just talking about like wanting out,
just leaving in general. Okay,
or just getting traded. Like
I don't know why I thought
fuck Embiid chance.
Maybe one of us said. Maybe it might have been me that said Knicks.
But
that would be kind of crazy.
We might have both like brain trust. I have no idea, but
be a little wild though. They lose to the Knicks first round. He wants out. That's the team he ends up going to. We've seen it happen before.
Pretty wild.
Kevin Durant did it, so
it's pretty wild. It's kind of like it's been weird to me to see like that happen in the NBA, and then it weirdly makes me think of the whole thing with the Bruins series. Like Nylander out for a while, Matthews out last night. You can't close it out without Matthews.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's like there's something weird with superstars right now. Giannis has been out. Like, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but
I don't know. I think you might be onto something there. Western Conference, things are a little more set in stone as things have gone on. We've had 3 series obviously finish up with the Thunder and Timberwolves both sweeping. I think the bigger surprise of that sweep was Minnesota and just how they absolutely dominated Phoenix. Good on you for picking the Timberwolves. I didn't think they were ready. Didn't think they had.
I didn't say a sweep though, so I can't take full credit.
So yeah, I can't. I'll give you 75% of credit because again, you were on the Timberwolves pretty early on that. I don't know if there's a worse, maybe, teams that are at the bottom of the league, but the Suns moving forward, I don't know if you saw this. I don't have the exact stats or the tweet that I saw after they got bounced, but they have something like no first round picks until like 2030 or beyond. They're over the second apron, so I think they can only sign, I think it's draft picks and
The
like
second
guys.
apron. What is that?
You didn't know about I'm not gonna get into it. It's whole that's the thing that people were worried about with the Celtics.
I don't
Where if
even
you're
know
in
what
the
that
aprons
means.
level of contracts and salaries and stuff, you can't
Did you say
sign.
aprons?
Yes, aprons.
Okay.
Like people
Okay.
the people
Hmm.
wear in like kitchens aprons. Yeah, that
Yeah,
type of
I didn't
thing.
know that
I'm
was
not
a
going to explain
term.
it to you because I'm going to butcher it, and also it's just the most convoluted thing to try to explain to begin with. But
That's
basically, the
okay.
apron that the Suns are in, I saw, is they are not allowed to sign anything outside of draft picks and guys for like the league minimum. So think of it as like a massive cap problem for the Phoenix Suns. Um, and obviously have an aging Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. There's thoughts that he maybe want out, or maybe wants out of Phoenix.
Apparently he
Um,
wants who is it? I saw he like wants to go to the Knicks
It was the
apparently.
Knicks, yeah. That might be. I maybe have had him confused with Embiid. That's maybe where I get the
We
Knicks
definitely
from.
mentioned the Knicks with Embiid as a team.
It would be a team that fits, that's for sure. Maybe fills a need, but I mean the Suns, not the Suns. The Knicks have out toughed Philadelphia in that series, and I don't know if Joel Embiid is the level of toughness that it would take to fit in with the Knicks there. Also don't know how Thibodeau and him would gel there. I feel like that would be a recipe for disaster. But again,
No,
yeah,
that's a good point. That's a great point.
yeah. Credit to the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards has definitely arrived as, one of the faces, if not the face of the league, like some people want to make him. Because he was just absolutely dominant, just absolutely took Kevin Durant's lunch in this series. And the Suns really had no answer for anybody in the Timberwolves, especially him. Denver, that series went exactly how you expected it to, maybe outside of it being a sweep. Thought that series would have ended in 4 games, but the Lakers able to put up a fight in game 4. Interesting that there's thoughts maybe now LeBron is going to opt out with the Lakers and try to test free agency. So that might be something that I'm sure
LeBron to the Knicks. That would Jalen
it's
Brunson play in New York.
everyone's going to the Knicks. We're just taking everybody
No,
and
I'm
putting them
not
on.
even. I'm like they could seriously use a guy like LeBron. I feel like, even at his
Well,
age.
maybe it all depends on where his son ends up. That'll be
Think
something to
of
watch
thing for the
too.
Knicks, the
But
jersey sales. LeBron Knicks jerseys would break records.
be through the roof. I mean, he just at this
Um,
point take a tour of the one of the more
right.
historic franchises in the NBA, Lakers, Knicks. Like I don't know if people put the Heat up there, but I'm sure there's some people that do. Um, They're just obviously known for what LeBron was able to do down there. Mavericks Clippers back and forth. That one's kind of been as we expected. Paul George has had some great games. Luka's had some great games. So that one's been the back and forth dogfight we expected it to be. Literal dogfight. I don't know if you saw a couple of nights ago Russell Westbrook throwing hands at people, getting ejected for got into like multiple fights in this series. I think it was game
He's a
3. I want to
weirdo.
say.
He
Yeah.
was
So
fucking. He was arguing in the regular season with the guy that was wearing a balloon hat when they were playing the fucking Hornets. Like, come on,
I think I
dude.
remember seeing that. Yeah.
Have some shame. Come
Yeah.
on, Russ. Like, you
Mhm.
don't want to be called West Brick. Don't argue with guys in balloon hats.
Yeah.
And now you're
Exactly. Don't
fighting
make it easy for
people,
people
apparently.
to clown you.
Come on. Like, what a dink.
Mhm. Yeah, and then the Thunder series, that one kind of went as we expected to. Zion banged up. I don't know if he played in because again, this was not a series I paid a whole lot of attention to be honest. So I don't know if Zion ever even got into a game in this series. But the Thunder take care of business as the number 1 seed. Kind of expected that when we found out it was going to be the Pelicans. Did you have any thoughts on any of these series? I feel like you kind of gave you a little spiel on the Timberwolves,
Nothing
Denver,
else, man.
Lakers. Anything that stood out there for you? Did you
No,
catch
I
any of
am.
these or?
I'm a little surprised the Lakers won a game, but it is what it
Mhm.
is. It's
Yeah, they
playoffs.
broke their streak of like
Mhm.
12 or 14 straight loss, something ridiculous, straight losses against the
They were
Nuggets.
on their Carolina Hurricanes Eastern Conference Final
Yeah,
BS.
exactly. The crazy thing too about that series, the Lakers led at halftime in every one of those games and ended up losing the series, so could not close the
Verbal
deal.
verbal meme of any Hurricanes listening to this, the 50 Cent. Why you say fuck me for meme?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I
good,
love that.
good call out there.
Um,
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah,
the West has
I don't
kind of
really
gone
have
as we expected
other
it to.
thoughts.
Like, there's been some parity in the East a little bit, at least.
Mhm.
Nice little rhyme there. Uh, but yeah, the West has been pretty much what we expected it to be. Maybe outside of the Timberwolves, because I feel like again there were some people
That
that
was crazy,
that
yeah.
was like the upset pick. I feel like for a lot of people, maybe outside of the Pacers.
And Edwards
Um,
was cocky too. He was
he was,
cocky.
yeah. Again, that's why I think he's primed for big things in the
Yeah.
NBA because I mean he's got the swagger, he's got the killer instinct. Like he is the full package, and he was on display in more ways than one in that series.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts.
Mhm.
Shall we segue to football?
I think so. There's been a lot that has
Not
happened.
football. I said that wrong. Not soccer.
Not soccer.
Football.
Yep. Call it the right
Football.
name.
American football.
Yeah.
Um, Christian Barmore is the latest homegrown talent to be signed.
Yep.
This is a deal that should have been made without hesitation, and I hope it was.
According to
$41.8
reports, it was
million.
happening for a while. Sorry to cut you off, but that was the surprising thing I saw from Jeremy Fowler. Is his quote was the Patriots have been working on it for a while. So
Yeah. $41.8 million guaranteed. Awesome. 92 over 4 years. Awesome. 23 million average annual value.
awesome.
Also awesome. He had like I don't know if you saw his agent's stories going viral. He was like walking into a restaurant, like, this is how you walk when you're rich. He's like calling his agent the GOAT.
Did not see that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was awesome. He's the man. Uh, just well deserved. This is one you shouldn't have hesitated
No.
with, but obviously, the process needs to go on, and it sounds like it did. It took some time and they got it. Largest non-Tom Brady contract in Patriots history, which isn't really that crazy. I saw
I was
Pat's
surprised
cap
by that a
say,
little bit. Maybe
but
just because I'm not so in tune with that. But like, I don't know why I thought like Gronk maybe had. I don't know why I thought he had like a big extension at one point, but a little surprising. But like you said, it also isn't when like Tom Brady was the guy getting most of the money, and obviously they were building with the bargain bin stuff. Not the knock any of the players that they picked up, of course. But that obviously was the MO for such a long time. Was we'll get these guys on cheaper contracts to play with Tom. So maybe not the most surprising thing, like you said.
yeah, I'm just yeah, okay. Yeah, Miguel or Pat's cap on Twitter had a good point, but like how like that might sound crazy, the Brady thing, but it's really not. But I couldn't find the tweet. I'm not gonna
Okay.
disrupt the shit with that. But yeah, this one's just a no-brainer. Awesome deal.
Mhm.
Gets done. Huge piece of the defense. They're locking up internal pieces, homegrown guys. Josh Uche, speaking of homegrown guys, apparently wants to go by Joshua now. So
Joshua,
keep
yeah.
that in your books. He wants to be Joshua. All the power to him. It is his name. So
Love the random
um,
name changes in the middle of
yeah, it's kind of funny.
legitimately middle of your career, like just all of a sudden.
Yeah. Is what it is.
Mhm.
Some trades that were on the table at the draft. Leading up to the draft, the Patriots had multiple offers for number 3.
All
Uh,
laughable.
the Vikings offered 11, 23, next year's first, in exchange for 3 and 2 mid-round selections. This one is cut and dry. Just shows how you're not really that serious about getting
Mhm.
up if you're gonna really make a stink about mid-round selections. Like,
Yeah,
come on,
exactly. No, no, no.
it's not the end of the world.
We're giving you 3 and that's it. We're not giving you
Yeah,
anything
that's
else for the
nuts.
third overall pick, you greedy bastards. Like,
I wouldn't have it any other way because I'm very happy with how things went.
absolutely.
Um, the Giants offered 6 and a 25 first. Need
That
more than
one's more
that.
laughable.
Throw
Like,
47 in there too, and it's a discussion, but maybe even not even. I don't think they should have made that. I'm glad they didn't.
mhm.
They made a trade offer with the Bills to get number 32 and potentially targeting Xavier Legette. Didn't happen. The Bills decided to help the team that never lets them get to the Super Bowl instead.
Yeah, exactly. That was
That's
mind blowing.
Buffalo Bills masterclass right there. Keon Coleman has inserted himself as maybe the funniest player in the league already.
Mhm.
He just seems a little dumb. I'll say
A
it.
little, yeah.
I don't want to say outright, maybe, I don't know. It's his
What did I call him the other
personality,
day
but
when I texted you? He's very dopey. We'll say
yeah, he's a little
we'll put it at
dopey.
that. Yeah.
Oh man, the clips we're gonna get from him are gonna be awesome. This is your wide receiver one of the future,
Yep.
Buffalo. I keep
Everyone
hearing
needs a bit of a goofball
comparisons.
on their team, so
I don't know, like I kind of feel like he's gonna be nasty.
that's what I
This is just
mean. Like
like
he could just
he's
be
just
the
like
dumbest
he's
MF on
just
the
like a
planet,
kind of
but
a moron, and then he
yeah,
just like figures it out on the field. He's just
yeah,
all ball.
exactly.
Um,
Guy doesn't know how
instead
to
the
tie his own
Bills,
shoes, but can go out there and drop
yeah.
150 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns a game.
Um,
Like I think he'll take
yeah.
that.
I don't know. He's got some stuff to work on with mobility though, or else he
Yeah.
could potentially be an Achille type. But Leggett goes 32 to the Panthers. Um, Coleman goes to the Bills, and the Patriots don't get that trade into the late first round they wanted. It's okay. I like Jalen Polk.
Yeah, I think it
We'll
worked
talk
out
about
pretty
him.
decent
Yeah.
from what I've seen
So
about a couple of these guys they've picked up.
exactamundo. While we're talking about the first round, I'll highlight some picks I like real quick. Of course, the mock draft review real quick. I got 4 picks right,
Oh God.
and they were all the obvious ones.
Oh,
It's a tough
was it
game.
1 through
It's a tough
4?
game. Yes, it's a tough
Yeah. Oh.
game. The
Well,
Chargers taking all screwed things up because I had them taking neighbors, partially because I think it could have happened, partially because I think you should have taken him, even
You
though
got
Joe Alt's
5,
a great
didn't you?
player.
Didn't you say McCarthy to the Vikings?
Yeah, but that wasn't an actual slot pick. It's
Ah,
kind
okay.
of so it's technically 5, but the move up had it so it's not technically correct. But yeah, we'll give myself 5. I
Quick
also
on
had
that too.
Cooper DeJean at 22. He
Mhm.
went to the Eagles at 40, so that's like maybe five and a
Half
half.
point. Okay,
Maybe
there you
five and
go.
a half. It just felt one day in like January when I was sizing some players up, I was like, Cooper DeJean just feels like an Eagle. It's gonna
Mhm.
happen, isn't it?
Pain.
Um, and they got him at 40, which is
Yeah,
insane
crazy.
value.
Real quick on
Insane.
the McCarthy trade. Fuck the Jets for screwing us out of money with the
Yeah.
just
I
completely
sized it up to you
unnecessary
too.
trade. Like,
I sized it up to you too.
yeah,
They just wanted the Vikings definitely wanted to do that to block
so
someone else from
stupid. My
doing
buddy
it,
said the same
which is
thing, but
a
I'm
good
like,
thing.
so dumb.
But that was the fashion news situation. It was going to be 9 if Odunze wasn't there.
Yep.
Odunze was there. They take Odunze at 9. Um,
Getting
and then
scammed by the Jets. Come on, Vikings.
Fashanu could go to the Jets instead. But the Jets move back. They get why am I drawing a blank? They got Fashanu at 11. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
So
mean. One pick after we
um
needed him to go in the top 10.
the top 10
Scumbags.
was there. It was there
Yep.
plus 330. God damn you, Jets. Of course, the Jets, the Jets, the
Yep.
Jets. That's just how they are. Let's go through the first round though. Top 4 standard. Joe Alt goes at 5. It's just a
A little
hardball pick.
surprising.
It's gonna work to some extent. It's probably gonna work awesome, but it's made up for when you get Lad McConkey in a small trade up with the Patriots, which could age poorly if he ends up better than Jalen Polk. But I like the Jalen Polk pick. And they got some additional value that allowed them to move up in the 4th round in that trade that allowed them to get Javon Baker. So remember that. They got Javon Baker with that Chargers pick in the 4th round. So yeah, Joe Alt is a Charger. Kind of screws up my order here. Malik Neighbors goes 5. We're in business. Odunze at 6, potentially. Alt at 7. I could go for 7 for 7. Would have been awesome. Didn't happen. I actually have. I'm looking at my mock draft to do what check, make sure all the ones I had right. But actually looking at the actual tracker to get the actual picks. Neighbors at 6. That's a no-brainer. Didn't look super thrilled to be there once he got there, and also called Daniel Jones Daniel Dones and kind of walked around the
Oh, that's
question of
great.
like what makes him good. Like he's like, I'm
Mhm.
just gonna wait and see. Like I need to get to know him. Like
It's a fair
JC
answer, but
Latham,
also not
yeah,
read between the
not great.
lines. Not the greatest.
Yeah. Drew Lock, maybe he did that because he thinks Drew Lock is gonna be the starter.
Luck.
JC Latham will play probably right tackle, maybe left. Good pick, good safe pick, smart pick by the Titans. Michael Penix though. Look,
Bonkers.
reasonable things have come out of maybe why they did this. I get those.
What were they? Because I have not. I don't know what
So
you're talking
okay, we'll
about.
get to
So
that in a sec. I just want
okay.
to start with this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe the most bizarre draft pick of our lifetime.
I don't think that's the craziest take at all. I've seen some
It's
people
got to
say
be
that's it's
close.
one of the worst picks of maybe our lifetime. Which again, I don't think that's the craziest thing either. Because
I saw a weird spin zone. What if a team loses a quarterback and really wants to trade for Penix? They won't trade Penix. This
I
is not
had
why
that
they
in the
drafted
back of
him.
my mind draft night. I'm like, are you taking
Yeah,
him as
it's
trade
a
bait? Like,
weird
what are you
angle.
doing? Yeah.
That would be wild. They take offense 4 or 5 years in a row now.
It's
Kirk
worked out
Cousins
great for
was
him.
not told that this was happening. Maybe they see this as it gives Kirk some competition. If Kirk goes down coming off an injury, we have a immediate potential really good NFL. Well, maybe not really good right away, but NFL ready quarterback, older guy. Maybe it's just he sits for a year and it's open competition next year. They get rid of Kirk, but there's a chance Kirk starts for 2-3 years. They said they're comfortable with 4 to 5 years of it taking for Penix.
Good luck.
Would be 28 at that
Yeah.
time, right where a potential decline can start happening for
For
quarterbacks.
quarterbacks, yeah,
A
absolutely.
decline before it even starts in that scenario. At that point, like if you're Penix, that almost seems impossible because after 3 years, if I'm Penix, I'd be like, "Fuck you guys, trade
I
me."
won out.
Like,
Yep.
yeah, maybe after 2 years. Like it's ridiculous. The guy doesn't have a lot of time to establish his prime as a backup who's already 24. Like, come on. Really bizarre. Really need a pass rusher. You traded up to reach for one in the second round of Rook Agororo. Sounds like a Scooby-Doo
Yeah, it
saying with his
does.
last name. Um, Falcons fans are pissed about that too. They left some players on the board. Really just bizarre stuff. I will get into like some guys that I don't like and do like in people's draft classes as well. But Odunze, that's a no-brainer at 9. Could have taken Fashanu, could have taken Odunze. Fashanu and Williams were former teammates in high school, so they lent some credence there. JJ gets the guy. JJ goes to the destination I've had him penciled into for 6 months. Just always felt like a Vikings quarterback. We'll see how it goes. Um, could go pretty ugly if he's not NFL ready, because I think there's definitely some stuff he needs to work on to be a good quarterback.
Mhm.
Sean Payton says he like put the JJ McCarthy stuff out there, a lot of quarterback stuff to like get people to hype him up. Then he takes Bo Nix at 12. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah,
You did this for that. You're really that impressed.
loser.
Like, you're really gonna. This is a disease, a disease to take a quarterback like this, a mind disease. You did not need to take Bo Nix here. You just didn't. The Broncos should have traded down. Like
It would have made
it's
way more.
insane.
Yeah,
Bo Nix can work out. He's a good football player. To me, like I said, he is not a guy that really wows me with anything. He is very good at certain things. He has things he needs to work on. That is not a player you take at 12.
do you think if they did trade down, because obviously we knew that the Raiders were obviously there were reports of them maybe trying to move up, and the speculation was for a quarterback. So if the Broncos did trade 12, do you think then the Raiders would have just swooped in at 13 and made the mistake that Denver probably
Yeah.
made? Okay,
But that
so
one isn't as bad of a mistake because it's high for Penix. I still maintain that. I think there's a case for him to just be a second rounder or good early second rounder or a
mhm,
much later first. I didn't have him in my first round because I just didn't think it made sense. And I
gotcha.
didn't want to just like make a
Throw it
move for
there
him
to
to
yeah.
put him in there just to do it. That just would have felt weird to me and
Mhm.
inauthentic. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think the Raiders would have taken him if he was there
Gotcha.
at 13, given all the buzz that became more and more prevalent as the draft cycle led up to draft night. Brock Bowers at 13, puzzling pick. Really good player. You drafted Michael Mayer, good rhyme, in the second round last year. Pretty good player. Maybe you just want to have two dominant tight ends. And Brock Bowers is a tight end that's practically a receiver with how he
Mhm.
moves and how, precise he is with everything. Like he's a tight end that like is essentially a receiver. He doesn't block a lot. He's very fast. He doesn't like always look like a tight end to me. He looks like a bulky receiver at times. So maybe they're just like we need a weapon. It doesn't matter that he's a tight end. We're still gonna find time for him and Mayer. It could work out. It was just a little bizarre. I expected them to go Fuaga here. Fuaga went next to the Saints. Really just smart pick. Latu Latu, one of the more surprising guys, or one of the more interesting guys with the medical history. Ballard was pumped. He's like, we got the best rusher in the draft at 15. They got him. It is what it is. Byron Murphy at 16. Dallas Turner. The drop happens. Some people speculated he was going to drop around this range. He did. Goes to Minnesota, replaces Daniil Hunter. That's a great value pick. Amarius Mims, the unicorn of the class we talked about, Ryan, the ginormous hands, the wingspan, much similar to Giannis, goes to the spot that I said made sense for him. If it wasn't going to be JC Latham, I thought Amarius Mims made a lot of sense. Then all that hype comes out, but Latham, he goes much higher. Mims is the perfect guy to sit for a year behind Orlando Brown and Trent Brown and
Absolutely.
start potentially next year. He could be a fucking problem.
That
Like,
offensive line could be dominant for the Bengals. Like,
oh my God, he is a freak. Jared Verse, defensive line made sense after losing. Donald, he's an edge rusher, not an interior guy. Maybe he could play some interior, like certain schemes, but he's a pure edge rusher, very powerful guy. Fought Tanu to the Steelers. The Steelers loaded up on the line, and Fought Tanu started in a great way. That's awesome value. Chop Robinson to the Dolphins was surprising, but might just be the best player on their board. They could certainly use an edge rusher a little bit, but not a huge pressing need. Could have addressed the offensive line. Made a little more sense. Quinion Mitchell is one of the best picks the first round. The fact that he got there was kind of crazy, and they get him into Gene. Your secondary is instantly rebuilt in Philly, and it needed to be. Brian Thomas Jr. Essentially just replaces Calvin Ridley. Terry and Arnold, awesome pick. Always love seeing the hometown crowd freak out for a pick. They trade up to get him. He shouldn't have been there. He's insanely good. Jordan Morgan could play guard in Green Bay or replace Bakhtiari. Graham Barton to the Bucks. Darius Robinson to the Cardinals. Xavier Worthy, the best pick of the draft, maybe.
Great pick, yeah.
Like
That one was a killer.
You give him a guy that, like, at least combine wise is faster than Tyreek Hill. Is he going to be the better athlete? Who knows? We'll see how it goes, but he looks like he can be. Tyler Guyton, they needed offensive line help in Dallas. Nate Wiggins, awesome value. Apparently, Clemson's front office or something was like clamoring, begging them to take him. And they did. Ricky Pearsall sneaks into the first round. Fuels the Brandon Ayuk stuff. We haven't seen Brandon Ayuk move, but he ends up in San Fran. So he sneaks into the first round. If anyone bet on him to go first round, good on you. That was a good sharp pick. And Xavier Legette closes it out. We knew that was going to happen. They visited with him like 4 or 5 times. If he was there, they were going to take him, it seemed. That's the first round. Anything that stood out to you otherwise in that first round?
No, I mean, the biggest
that we didn't talk about?
The biggest two we already talked about, the just head scratcher of Penix, and then the fact that the Bills gift wrapped one of the better wide receivers, or late round wide receivers in the draft. So like you said, a team that has just handcuffed you year after year, has held you from getting to a Super Bowl, maybe winning one if you were lucky enough to. So that was mind blowing. I texted you when it happened. It was just funny, the 2 trades they make that night. A team that desperately needs a wide receiver. Both times they trade the pick, that is what goes at the slots that they had. The Worthy pick with Kansas City, and then the Legette one with Carolina. So Bills are going to Bills. I mean, they took a wide receiver in the second round, so all the power to them. But
I overthunk it big time with the Xavier Worthy to the Bills bet. It was the Chiefs to the Bills. I was like, the Bills have the pick before. They're going to take him if he's there. And
I was going to say, you were operating like a person with a brain, and not one that says, hey, I'll trade this guy to my rival that I can't seem to beat. Like,
so stupid.
Mind blowing. Yeah.
Before we get into more stuff, I'll do my quick wrap like I do every year. Just certain picks I like here and there. For every team's draft class, not a lot of big analysis. Kieran Megadodji is great for the Bills. He could end up being a monster to protect Caleb Williams. Austin Booker, I want to highlight this guy because a lot of people will say he can be this awesome edge rusher prospect if he's like transformed into one. He only played 505 snaps in college. So you're really betting on the traits there.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Austin Booker. They must really like him. He falls to the 5th round. Could look really good for them. The Commanders had an awesome draft. They took, Johnny Newton was a little bit puzzling over a corner, I guess, or a lineman, but he's too good to pass up on at 36. He's a monster. Get Jane Daniels, Mike Samer, still one of my favorite players in the draft. I think he's a huge reason why Michigan won the national championship as a leader on that defense. Best nickel corner in the draft. I'm very jealous of them. I hope he doesn't rot on that terrible team. Ben Sinnott, they have a tight end now. Great player. Luke McCaffrey, of the McCaffrey bloodline, goes there as well. Let's see. Who's next? The Steelers. This was kind of getting at. The Steelers attacked the shit out of the offensive line. They did not fuck around. They took Fatanu. They took the second best center in a lot of people's eyes in Zach Frazier. And they took Mason McCormick, who seemed seemingly one of the better guards in the draft. So they are not fucking around about protecting whoever their QB of the future is going to be. I love that. They got Roman Wilson, wide receiver from Michigan as well. Interesting pick there. The Cardinals had a ton of picks. No, I don't have any real crazy thoughts outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. and Darius Robertson, but I want to shout out them for making Elijah Jones from Boston College the highest drafted BC corner ever. Deserved. Elijah Jones is a good player. If they mold him the right way, I think he could be a solid player for them. Shout out to Elijah Jones. Ravens, they get Wiggins and Rosengarten to start. Good stuff. They get Drake May's old buddy, Tez Walker. TJ Tampa in the 4th round is great value. Chiefs crushed it. They did.
Mm-hmm.
Xavier Worthy, my guy, Kingsley Suamataia, like 5 picks before the Patriots stung.
Yeah,
didn't expect him to get that far to begin with, though, so I wasn't really hopeful he was going to get there. Jared Wiley's a good tight end. He'll have a great mentor, and the guy who just got a restructured contract, Travis Kelce, tight end from TCU. Jaden Hicks is awesome. I've heard good things about the center they drafted. Kamal Haddon was great at Tennessee. Like, it's just an awesome draft. Fuck the Chiefs.
The
Um,
Suyamato one kills you because as he's falling, you're like, Patriots trade up, trade up. You need a
trade up and
tackle,
get him.
trade up, and then they never did. And then as soon as it went to Kansas City, you're like, son of a bitch.
But we'll talk about the guy they got at 68. Still a good player.
Mhm.
Eventually, the Chiefs, they stopped the Donnie Mitchell fall. I loved what Chris Ballard said about that. Like, I hate all these rumors from unnamed sources. Like, he's a kid. He's a good kid. We love him. We were happy to get him. Can
What
we
was the
put
off-field
faces to
stuff with
names?
him? Or not off-field
There's
character?
like other concerns we don't know about. One of the things is like he's bad at managing his diabetes, which
Okay,
some teams didn't like. Some teams like took him off the board completely for off-field stuff. I don't know what else could be involved there, but
gotcha.
they had a good draft too. They get some offensive line help in the interior. They get one of my favorite receivers in Anthony Gould, just a ridiculously fast player from Oregon State. Jalen Simpson's also good as well. Seahawks, nothing really stands out for me with the Seahawks. Like, to be honest, let's go on to the next one. Rams, Verse and Fisk. If you want to replace Aaron Donald, that's a good way to do it. Braden Fisk is great in the interior of the D line. Verse can get after the passer. Nothing really else there for me, though. The Bills, they get Keon Coleman, and then they get a white safety to replace a white safety in Jordan Poyer. Cole
If it ain't
Bishop,
broke, don't fix it.
yep. We'll see how it goes. Cedric Van Payne Granger in the 5th round is awesome value. He can play guard. He can play center. They get another running back, so maybe someone to watch out in their offense. Ray Davis from Kentucky. Don't know a lot about him, though. Graham Barton to the Bucks is a great pick. I love. He can play center, replace Ryan Jensen, who retired. They also got Jalen McMillan, one of the other Washington receivers. Love that for them. They could use another depth guy. Bucky Irving was one of my favorite running backs, too. They got him. The Vikings, nothing really crazy besides the first round. They did get Kyrie Jackson, though. Another guy I loved. Corner, 2 picks before the Patriots. Stings, but the Patriots got Javon Baker, so it makes it hurt less. At that pick, the Raiders or the Saints, nothing crazy. They did stop the Spencer Rattler fall, though, so we'll see how that works for them. They get Fuaga and Kool-Aid McKinstry, though, one of the best names in the draft, so good for them. The Packers, nothing really crazy. Didn't like the Packers draft, to be honest. They did get Michael Pratt and Kalen King, though, 2 of the more interesting guys to fall. Kalen King, for reference, was thought of to potentially be a first rounder. Falls to one of the last picks of the draft because of a bad Senior Bowl, a bad combine, and an underwhelming season. That's not a good formula.
Tanked his whole stock. Jeez.
Holy smokes. But man, if they can turn him into a player, they stole him there. That's absolutely worth a gamble when you have 2 7th-round picks. I like Michael Pratt. I don't know if he'll work out, but I like taking that stab in the 7th round. I think he's a solid player. The Dolphins, they get Chop Robinson, Patrick Paul. They drafted a running back in the 3rd round.
No sense.
Jalen Wright's really good. But I know Mostert's getting older. He's not going to be around forever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's his
Chan?
contract situation?
Maybe take a guy in like the 6th round.
Yeah.
Maybe take like another offensive lineman. I don't know. I like Muhammad Kamara. I like Malik Washington and Taj Washington as receiver options. They love Malik in particular. So the Chargers, I like what they did at receiver, despite not getting Neighbors or Dunze. McConkey's great. I liked Cornelius Johnson at Michigan, and they get Brendan Rice, the Jerry Rice bloodline. I love Cam Hart for them in the 5th round as well. The Giants are pretty good. They're rated low by some people, but Neighbors, Newbin, Phillips, and Johnson is great, in my opinion, for a nice little holiday. Lions did good. They get Arnold and Rakestraw. Rakestraw is a perfect Lions quarterback. He's kind of a psycho, plays physical. And BC shout out here, Christian Mahogany, pick 210. Shouldn't have fallen that far. Ridiculous. Guy 2 years ago was viewed as a potential 1st-round prospect. Tears his ACL, that affected things. He should have went like the 3rd round. He's gonna make the make motherfuckers pay. They also got Sion Vaki, who is a running back / safety.
That's
Pretty
a hell of a
interesting.
combination. Wow.
I know. Very weird. Eagles, DeJean and Mitchell, like unreal. Jalix Hunt is a freak athlete at the edge. They also got Johnny Wilson, who's a bizarre 6'7" receiver from Florida State, whose stock fell a ton. Just, you got to be a better athlete at 6'7" if you want to go higher in the draft. He's just not a very good athlete. Bengals did pretty good. Mims, Jenkins, Burton. They get a couple tight ends. They get Tanner McLaughlin, I liked. Xavier Legette, Jonathan Brooks to the Panthers. Jatavion Sanders in the 4th round is great. Didn't really love the draft for the 49ers. Ricky Pearsall's good. Running back they got's good. Cowing, good value in the 4th round. Tyler Guyton, Cooper Beebe, that's about it. Marshawn Nealand is good too. Didn't really love the draft for the Cowboys. Kamari Lassiter to the Texans, that's about all I really love. To be honest, Kalen Bullock is good. Blake Fisher's good, but kind of falls off. I showed you this clip of Jawar Jordan, this running back who's like super fast they got. Maybe he'll be good. And Sketch announced that pick of Cade Stover, who I like to them as well. That was awesome. He got the crowd all fired up. I don't know if you saw the clip.
I did. Yep.
Pretty awesome.
Mhm.
That's a no-brainer for the NFL to get him in the draft. Jets didn't really have a good draft, to be honest, but I do like Fashanu
They screwed
and
us out of
Corley.
money.
They were thrilled to get Corley, and I don't blame them. Malachi Corley is a beast. He's awesome after the catch, plays physical. They took a chance on Jordan Travis, which I love, because I think people kind of forgot about Jordan Travis as a prospect after he snapped his leg. Jordan Travis is a pretty damn good football player. I think there's a small chance life after Aaron Rodgers we see some Jordan Travis with the New York Jets. Just saying. They also have the final pick of the draft. They got Jalen Key, safety from Alabama. The Broncos, I hated the Broncos draft. I'm not going to talk about it. Jaguars got some good defensive help, some good line help outside of Brian Thomas, but left a little bit to be desired. The Raiders, puzzling pick with Bowers, but a good player. They get Jackson Powers Johnson, arguably the best center. Not a lot else, but shout out. They did get Dylan Lobb, the running back from New Hampshire. So they got him. He's practically a receiver. He's not even really much of a running back. He catches the ball a lot. Browns, rough drafts. Michael Hall can be good, though. Zach Zinter is on that awesome Michigan offensive line. Patriots, we'll talk about that. I loved it. Titans did not have a great draft. They reached a little bit on Latham. That's a good pick. You can call it a reach based off where he was ranked. But not a bad pick. And they took a gamble on T'Vondre Sweat, who's very good, but has some legal stuff going on right now. So the Titans love taking gambles.
Seems like it.
Isaiah Wilson, T'Vondre Sweat, Caleb Farley with injuries, and there's one other I'm forgetting about. They love taking gambles. Isaiah Wilson did not work out at all. Didn't like the rest of their board, really. And the Falcons, just awful. They reached on Aurora, good player, but they reached on him. Penix, really risky pick. Braylon Trice is great in the 3rd round, though. I like Jason McClellan, the running back from Alabama, late too. So that's my little draft class recap. My computer's a jet engine again. Anything that stuck out to you? Anyone you were surprised to see go where they went? I know you have some picks you have highlighted here. If you want to just get into those.
They mainly ran through the main ones. It's just some of the more well-known names. The one that was a killer was the Blake Corum to the Rams one. I thought for sure he was going to be a first-round pick of the Cowboys, like I said last week. Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
I said it when it happened. I didn't know enough about the player and just thought Dallas was in a position to make a crazy sort of draft pick. And then they ended up re-signing Zeke. So
that's a good run game for the Rams. Like we know Kyron Williams can really get in the end zone, but he's powerful. So is Blake Corum. Like that's going to be an annoying backfield to play against, which hasn't really been a thing for them. So that's a potential huge strength for them that could come along.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the other ones, I mean, we touched on the Suamata stuff, Mataiya, sorry. I can't pronounce names.
Come on, it's fun to say.
It is. You're right. That's one I'll have to work on. But yeah, that one,
he's
like
also,
you said,
I forgot to mention last week, also related to Puka Nacua, too.
Oh, I feel like I did see that. I couldn't remember who the player was, but I did remember seeing a tweet that somebody was related to Nacua in this draft.
He might have more NFL bloodline, too. Like, this kid's unbelievable.
But yeah, I mean, him going to the Chiefs, you said stinks. Patrick Paul, I thought maybe that was a move the Patriots could have maybe moved up, grabbed him with, the tackle need and just guys falling a little bit. That one kind of stunk. Rattler to the Saints is an interesting one because obviously we know Derek Carr is probably not going to be the future there. So that's I feel like not take a flyer,
good
but maybe kind of take it. Yeah.
No, it is a flyer. I think.
Yeah, you think so? Okay. We'll say that then.
What did you think of the whole thing with Rattler, like teams taking him off their board because of the QB1 thing, the documentary he filmed when he was in when he was 17?
Didn't even know about that. You're gonna have to explain.
They didn't like how he was perceived. He's changed a lot since then. Apparently, seems like a pretty mature guy now. I think there's
Okay.
maybe like some maturity issues back
I
then. The
do
guy's
remember hearing
17. He was 17.
I do remember hearing a little bit that that was one of the things that when it was
Yeah,
going to come time for him to come into the draft, like character concerns there, but I didn't
yeah.
know what they were for. I just thought he was kind of just like a scumbag player or that type of thing,
Mhm.
but didn't. So that's interesting to know about. But yeah, I mean,
No,
everything
yeah.
I've seen and heard from him, he seems like he is, in a
Mhm.
decent set of mind or
That's a
mindset.
guy that'll
So
be motivated too.
yeah, absolutely.
Also,
For
with the
sure.
Chiefs thing, the Suamataia thing makes sense because any reasonable BYU guy. So,
Hmm.
Kingsley went to BYU. It was a no-brainer there
Yeah.
at 63. Too
Could
good
you
a value
imagine if
pass.
Rattler was still kind of an a-hole though, and you had that quarterback room of Derek Carr and him just kind of
Oh
going at
my
each other's
God.
throats? Oh God, that'd be entertaining if you're a Saints fan.
Yeah,
Like, but yeah, I mean, you
really,
like I
yeah.
said, pretty much hit on all the other ones that I had. Did you mention Brandon Rice? Jerry Rice's kid got drafted,
Yep.
seventh round by the Chargers. Did okay, so yeah,
Did you hear the story about him? He was at a
me,
childhood friend's funeral,
yeah, I did hear about it. Yeah, he
and he
left.
was like, he was gonna take the phone call whenever it came.
Yeah, I did hear
It's
about
pretty
that.
pretty interesting story.
Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, that like I said, you pretty much nailed all the big name ones that kind of I had the same thought process about. So nothing else really to add.
All right.
Jonathan Brooks was I thought a nice get for the Panthers too. They're starting to build a
Yeah.
little bit around
Mhm.
Bryce Young there, and get two solid
Yeah,
offensive
you
weapons for
can't
him
rely
potentially.
on Miles Sanders. We
God
saw
no,
that. Like, you gotta maybe if
Chuba
he
Hubbard has his
underperforms,
moments, but like
get out of there. Because like
yeah,
Hubbard's good, but like
mhm.
Sanders should not be like a guy you need to feel obligated to give
God
the ball
no.
to a lot.
Mhm.
Besides money, like if you want to get better, like try and get better. Because you shouldn't be stapled to
Mhm.
Miles Sanders. That team sunk and he kind of stunk. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
shall we get to the Patriots, Ryan?
Sure, it
The
wasn't a
day we've
eventful
been
draft to
waiting
say the
for.
least.
The day we have been waiting for. Drake May will don the number 10 for the New England Patriots. They received the calls. They loved him for a while. They knew for a while that Jaden Daniels was going to go too. And Drake May is the guy.
Love it.
Drake May is the guy. I love it. He doesn't need to start right away. He's a great player. He's got the things he's going to work on. He knows he needs to work on. And this is your shot that you are taking. It was the smart pick. Could you
I
have
was
gone
just.
receiver? Sure. Could you have
Mhm.
traded down? Sure. This just was the safe, smart pick. A guy that you are hoping will be your Justin Herbert.
See, when you say you could have traded down, trade down to what? Because I have a thought coming off of it, and obviously it's not really that much of a thought because it obviously happened. But when you say you could have traded down to where in particular were you thinking?
5.
Okay, because I was gonna say that was one of my main takeaways is just the fact that I'm glad that they took May with and kept the pick because as we saw with we talked about not to the level of Knicks, but you saw teams kind of go all in for quarterbacks here and make, some moves to get a quarterback that they wanted. The Vikings obviously trading up a pick to do so. So, for the people that wanted the Patriots, because there was a decent amount of them I felt that were like, oh, trade down to 11 with the Vikings, you'll get a quarterback there. No, you wouldn't have. You would have been stuck with Bo Nix. So congratulations on that, you
Yeah.
idiots, if you think that was the move that they should have made. So that, in a sense, is I'm glad that they stuck with the pick. As like you said, now we've come to find out none of the trade offers were even remotely enticing. Unless again, if you want to maybe, like you said, throw an extra pick or two into that Giants one, then maybe it becomes a little enticing. But I'm glad
Yeah.
they took the pick. I'm glad they drafted the right guy. Still, right up until the name was called, I was terrified that we were going to hear JJ McCarthy's name, and then I think I just would have shut the TV off and gone to bed at that point. But yeah, glad it was Drake May, and again, he's a work in progress, sure. Like the NFL grade for the draft recap has him as a boomer bust potential, which maybe is a little harsh. Third overall pick, you're already considering
Mhm.
a boomer bust. But I'm excited for him. I don't know how you can't be. It's a different era, it's a new era, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Me too. It sounds like the Commanders did consider McCarthy
May
fairly
oh,
heavily
okay, I was
too, which
going
is
to say
pretty
May it too.
funny. It doesn't really seem like they considered Mayo that much, which is really strange.
I thought I saw a report that they said they flat
Little
out
May.
didn't. Like it was Daniels
Yeah,
or McCarthy, and that was it, which is kind of surprising.
weird. We'll see how it works out because I think May is gonna be good. He's pumped. It was cool to see him, talk so highly of his brothers. There's a video with his brothers, his girlfriend he's been with since seventh grade. It's like if you want, you bring me in, you bring my team. This is my team. These are my guys and gals. So I love his accent too.
Hmm.
I love the accent. It's awesome.
Like a
It's gonna take some
country
getting used
bumpkin.
to because like we just have Brady and Mac Jones. Like they don't
Yep.
have accents. Mac Jones maybe a little bit. Um,
I
Garoppolo didn't
love
have an
to.
accent.
It's not something we're going to spend a whole lot of time on. I mean, obviously, we know things are going to be different here with Gerard Mayo and Elliot Wolf and everybody at the helm. And obviously, we've heard from numerous times that they're looking to change the culture and everything. You had, I don't know if you saw the video today, was it on Wenu riding a freaking bike in the locker room? Like
Yeah,
if that's just not a culture change, example of a culture change, I don't know what is. I thought it was just so refreshing. I'm sure you heard some of Drake May's comments post draft. Like he didn't sound, excuse me, like the stereotypical like I'm a Patriots draft pick, and we're gonna go out there and play really. Like he seemed excited. He didn't seem robotic or like that he had been kind of talked through. Like we've seen, numerous players come in here and just be like, I'm going out there to do my job, and I'm gonna, compete for the best of the team. Like you know what I mean, type of thing. Like the Belichick esque, um, robotic type of press conferences. Like Drake May seemed genuine, seemed like he was, definitely excited to get going, which was refreshing to see. Did
yeah.
you have a bad
Sorry
drink or
about.
something there? What
No,
happens?
no. I've had a sore throat for like almost a month.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I gotta take a little sore throat drop here. Like I, it sucks. Um, yeah, I'm with you, man. Everything about it feels right.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, I just feel comfortable. It's just, I'm not gonna lie, there is part of it like if it doesn't work out, it sucks. Like it's a nightmare, but
Yeah, that's
I'm just super
every pick
confident
though.
right now. It is with every pick,
Yeah,
and yeah, the upside of a Justin Herbert or Josh Allen is something you have to take that chance on.
for
They want
sure.
that
Yep,
quarterback in the future. New regime, you start that with the guy, and then you build around him. And
for
they
sure.
started to build around him. It sounded like he had some input too. He liked his guys. He picked um, I don't know how much he had say in the pick in the end, but he definitely had some input, which is nice to see that trust already.
Mm-hmm.
And I think him and Jacoby are going to have a cool relationship.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, you got your gunslinger. Just gotta hope it works, and it's on the coaching staff and him to make it happen. So, Jalen Polk at 37. You trade back a little bit, it helps you get Javon Baker, so that's nice. Um, I was a little surprised to see Polk go at 37. I'm not gonna lie. Peter Schrager thought he could have went first. There was some buzz around the league that like Patriots made the right pick. This is a guy that could have gone earlier. A lot of teams liked him, a lot like the Patriots did, but they made a shrewd choice to move back a few spots and still get him anyways. And it helped them, of course, like I said, end up getting Baker, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Polk is a receiver like you could have gotten like a better athlete there. But this is a guy that I think a young quarterback needs. He makes tough catches. He can make tough catches across the middle, which is especially important. He can make contested catches down the field. Um, he has awesome hands. He's like everywhere you see, it's just like you can say this about a lot of players, but it's like a smart player, like knows things, picks things up really well, just like a student of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's just everything I've seen and read. He does things with efficiency, and he makes those tough plays. Like you need a guy like that, and the
Absolutely.
athleticism, like it leaves a little bit to be desired to some. He's not a bad athlete by any means, but like, sure you could have gotten a better athlete at receiver position or someone else. This is a tools player that they took that is going to make the important catches, make tough jump ball catches, and be an annoying receiver to deal with. Like he's not always going to annoy you because he's blowing you away with speed, but he's a good enough athlete to justify there. Um, you could say great, maybe not elite athlete, but you could say great. Um, I just don't think some people are using the athleticism not being like better than certain guys they like is like, oh, it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
His athletic, capabilities in comparison to other players is not a bad thing. It just is what it is. Like he's still an awesome player. He's a good athlete, and he's gonna make tough catches for this
Mm-hmm.
team. He's gonna take hits, and he's
I'll
got great hands.
take that.
You
Absolutely.
kind of outweigh the any concerns you could have when he has like genuinely some of the better hands in the draft. It sounds like he could have. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's a good player. They took him a little early, I think. Like maybe like 5 to 10 picks early, 10 at the most. But I think him going around 40, 37 range shouldn't surprise a ton of people. It's a little risky. Like you could have taken certain guys over him. Say what you want to say. Um, I'm drawing a blank on AD Mitchell. Like you could have taken AD Mitchell, but he dropped 15 picks later for a reason. Um, He's a good player. I think he should be happy with it, and I think he's going to make his job a lot easier. The biggest thing with this one is if Lad McConkey is way better than him, then it
Yeah,
looks tough.
exactly.
But
That's
then
the if factor.
you also have the Javon Baker
Hmm.
aspect of this trade
Yep.
tree.
You got two good
Like
receivers potentially
two good
for price
receivers.
of
They
one.
got one in that deal. Actually, I don't know. I don't think they took a receiver with the second one. I'm almost positive, but let's see who went after him. I think there's another receiver maybe that went after him besides AD Mitchell. No, there wasn't one in between. Yeah, so it's really Mitchell and McConkey in that debate with him. So I love the pick. I think he's going to make those big time catches if he pans out.
Hmm.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm excited again. I think there's some upside there, but of course there's some question marks. But again, that's with every pick. I feel like you could say the same thing. So I'm excited to see, um, what he's got and in the tank. And again, I'm glad it's obviously a position we know they needed. I'm glad they're proactive in getting it early. If you consider second round early, I'm sure there's people that wanted
Mm-hmm.
a receiver potentially in the first round, but I'll take it. I'm happy with it. Can't really complain about the pick.
Yeah, and for people that don't like it, they could have taken him even earlier at 34 and potentially
Exactly.
missed out
Yeah,
on
they could.
Javon
Yeah.
Baker.
Yep.
Like he's a damn good football player. Can we just please like give the guy a chance? Like you don't have to love the pick. Can you give the guy a chance?
Yeah.
For
Don't need to be
Christ's sakes.
all doom and gloom right out of the gate.
Like, come on. Come on. Caden Wallace, I like the pick if they can turn him into a left tackle. Some have speculated maybe they just put Onwenu back at guard and make him the starting right tackle. I don't think that's the case.
No.
I think you signed Chuka Okorafor for 1 year for this purpose, for whoever you take in the draft will develop behind him. I think if you're a talented enough player, you can make the switch. They seem to think Caden Wallace is not a guy I did a ton of research on going into it, but he's got good size. People like his hands. He's got long arms, big hand. No, this was Robinson I'm thinking about, but yeah, I gotta be honest. I don't know a ton about Caden Wallace, but he's a big. He's like the thing that intrigues me about him is he's in the James Franklin camp in Penn State, who developed Olu Fashanu into a stud that could have went top 5 at one point, goes 11.
Hmm.
Um, from that tree, I'm okay with this. It's not the most glamorous lineman to get, but he sounds like a good football player, good size. There's some traits there to work with, and they seem confident that he can go to left tackle. I'm not going to add too much more than that because I don't know a lot about the player, but I didn't see this as a guy. I was like, oh my God, they fucked up. Could they have went up and got Sua Mataia? Sure. But that screws up your chance of getting Javon Baker. You never know what the trickle down effect is. If they feel confident enough to take a prototypical right tackle and turn him into left tackle in the future, I'm gonna hear them out. We'll see how this pick goes. Nothing about the player itself tells me I should freak out though.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm if you're nitpicking, like maybe I'm gonna sound like I am here. Like you'd like a prototypical left tackle if to
Mm-hmm.
get a guy to play that position. But again, I'm with you. Like I'll give the kid a chance to move over and see what he can do. Um, I think a lot of grade comparisons and player comparisons are crap when it comes to this, but like
Yeah.
seeing Vidarian Lowe for CBS's player
Mm.
comparison is not the most enjoyable thing, as we know, just what type of player Vidarian Lowe was here. But again, yeah, I'm not going to go too much into it because I'm like you. Didn't spend a whole lot of time on the offensive tackle and the offensive lineman position, so don't know a lot about the player.
Yeah.
But again, I'm excited to see if he can make that transition and see what he brings to the table.
He was one guy looking back, I was surprised I didn't do more on because there was a deep draft and I thought I pretty much got everyone. I knew like a little bit about Wallace, but not enough.
Mhm.
Um, it's okay though. I'm not a scout. Leighton Robinson is very interesting though because this is also a guy in a different vein. I knew who Kane Wallace was. I did not know who Leighton Robinson was. So I was like, okay, I gotta figure out who this guy is.
Who are you?
Um, Interior versatility, long arms, huge hands, big thing for a lineman. Exciting. Allowed one sack on like just around 400 pass blocking snaps this past year. Pretty impressive. This tells me that after drafting 3 linemen last year, they were not pleased. So this put
Clearly.
some pressure on Antonio Mafi and City So and maybe Jake Andrews, but I think Jake Andrews is more so of like David
It's
Andrews'
just
backup
depth. Yeah,
versus a
exactly.
guard, but he's got some guard flexibility. So maybe
Mhm.
job is on watch a little bit here too. We'll see how he just performs in general. But I like the Layden Robinson pick. Sounds like a good depth guy. And long arms, big hands, that's a good combo. That enough is good enough for me. And allowing 1 sack on pass blocking snaps last year is pretty sick.
Pretty
So
good. Yeah.
yeah.
I'll take it too. I mean, your offensive line was atrocious last year outside of, Onwenu, who was great. David Andrews obviously was good too. So maybe not the whole offensive line was atrocious, but you know what I mean. So if they want to continue to take chances on some of these guys, see if a couple of these picks, mid-round, late-round picks hit, I'm perfectly fine with it. And again, like
Yeah.
I think you having some pressure on some of these guys that might not have been great in their first year, I think that can only help them. I mean, you hope it only helps them. You hope it doesn't, crumble them to be like, oh God, am I playing for my job now? Type of thing. But I'm fine with the pick as well.
Yep. I was gonna say something else, but my motto is sometimes if I forget things, it probably wasn't that important.
Go. The pick you've raved about.
What was it though?
I don't know. It must have been pretty important because it looks like you're stressing over it a little bit. Don't know.
Maybe it'll come to me.
Okay.
Javon Baker, former 4-star to Bama, goes to UCF for more reps, more attention, gets it. Very good. Little cocky, which I like. He can make
Take it.
people
Absolutely. You need a cocky receiver. One or two of them.
He proved it. Did you see the video of the guy in the wheelchair that stood up to give him a hug?
I did not see that. He actually already made somebody in a wheelchair stand up. That's awesome.
He has well-placed cockiness. It will not look well-placed if he does
If he
not
sinks,
live up to his potential. But Javon Baker is a seriously exciting prospect that I was telling myself all morning, even tweeting a little bit. That's why I wanted in the 4th round, one of those picks, one of the guys. I'm happy that it wasn't Troy Franklin with either of these picks. I think he fell for a reason. He reunites with Bo Nix in Denver. They traded up, actually, the pick ahead of the Layden Robinson pick to get him, so it avoided the chance of it even happening for the Patriots. Troy Franklin's a fine player. He's a good separator. He just doesn't really blow me away. Javon Baker is a guy that can blow you away. And you got him in the 4th round. He should have went late second, I think was the highest he probably could have gone. It wasn't realistic. He should have been a 3rd-round pick. He said it took too fucking long. I promise you, like, you guys are going to pay, like, I love it. This kid, he's got Alabama. If he gets Nick Saban's attention to recruit him, that's exciting. Doesn't work out. It is what it is. This is a guy that plays with a chip on his shoulder, and he's so good. I was just
gonna say you need a guy with a chip on his shoulder type of mentality, and
he's a crazy good athlete. He's worked out with Jalen Polk, which is nice. He's a crazy good athlete. Can make jump ball plays. Great hands. Explosive. Like, he's awesome. He's awesome. And this could look like one of the best picks of the draft if he hits his ceiling. And even if he doesn't, there's a really good chance he's a pretty productive player for Drake May. And perhaps, we'll see how productive he is in his rookie year with Jacoby Brissett for however long he starts. The Javon Baker pick is an A+.
Absolutely. That's what CBS gave him.
A+.
Tend to agree with him.
It's awesome. He is awesome. And maybe he's just okay. Maybe he's like a good, serviceable wide receiver 2 or a high-end 3. This is a guy that could be a wide receiver 1. It's going to be tough, but the tools are there. If he's coached up right and he's ready for it, he could be a very good receiver for this team. But I think it's not a lock, but
nothing is in the draft. That's the theme.
He's a phenomenal prospect to get in the 4th round.
Yeah, nothing against him too, but I think he's a pick that may, personify the regime change as well. Because I feel like when I'm with you, I loved all the videos and stuff that came out. The like you said, the about time when he got picked. The guy, I don't know if it was him or one of his buddies yelling, "Where's the liquor at?" The whole "get your popcorn," like all the comments and everything. Part of me in the back of my mind was like, if this was last year, like if Bill Belichick was still at the helm and drafted this guy, congratulations, you've been benched the whole year now because of these type of comments.
Yeah, it's like the Gronk situation where like Bill was like, all right, chill
why
on
did
the
we
stage,
draft
get
this
off
guy?
the stage.
Yeah. Yep.
Like with all the hugs and the chants of
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Again, you need this is a team that needs some personality, and you need some of these guys. I mean, it's been Judon by himself, I feel like, for quite some time when it comes to more of the rowdy guys, fun guys on there. and not to knock some of the guys that are on the team, but you know what I mean. Like they need some of these guys that people want to come and see and gets hyped up for. And Baker in less than 24 hours made it pretty damn easy to do that.
Yeah, he just needs to pan out because he's gonna get
True.
clowned if he
Yep.
doesn't. Um,
Absolutely.
I don't have many concerns with him, if
No.
any at all, right now. Marcellus Dial. This has got to be a cool one for Marcellus Dial because not only did he get drafted, he was the only defensive player drafted by his team.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you saw the guy. He looks like he's chiseled from stone. He is ripped.
I have not.
Oh my God, like crazy strong kid. I shouldn't say kid. I don't know why, but you needed a corner depth guy, and you got him. Looks like a pretty good athlete. Don't know a lot about him. Yeah, I like it. This is one of the this is the main defensive position I wanted them to attack in some way, and they did.
Mhm.
And he looks like a freakishly strong human being. Just chiseled. Guy must live in the weight room. So see how it works out.
Yeah, if there's one thing that they know how to draft or develop or whatever you want to describe it as, it is corners. So I'll take it
Mm-hmm.
with especially again late round flyer type of thing, late round corner. Like you said, you need the depth. Can't complain. Like
I think someone
you're in wait
might
and
have
see
said
territory with a lot of these guys at this point.
someone might have said Drake May played against him too, which would make sense because
Okay.
North Carolina, South Carolina. So I don't know how much they played against each other, but Joe Milton. I love the Joe Milton
Great
pick. He was
pick.
the
Sneaky
ultimate
great pick.
fun quarterback in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
He can bomb the ball. It doesn't always go to the right place. That is the issue.
Yep.
But Joe Milton has a crazy arm. Crazy arm.
Guy loves
The
chucking
video where he does
oranges
like
across.
the look away throw and he's like celebrating and he just knows it's gonna drop in the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
He is the ultimate fun player. He can throw an orange over 120 yards. He only threw 120 yards that one time, but he said that was after a day of practice. Let him be fully fresh and do it. I hope we'll see snaps this year on like trick plays or for Hail Marys.
That'd be pretty funny.
He
Can you
says
imagine
the
they
tight
trot
end.
him out on a Hail Mary play? Be like, what the
Yeah.
hell are you doing? It
I mean,
ends up
he's got the
working.
best arm for it,
Yeah.
probably in terms
Yep.
of depth, how long you're throwing it. The conversion of the tight end is unfortunately not happening. I'd love to even just see it once him line up a tight end because it would just be hilarious. And he's such a crazy large individual. This was an ultimate. This guy's fun. We'll see what happens. He's a good prospect. He's not a great prospect. He can be a great prospect though.
Mhm.
He is so much fun. He is a shockingly strong and powerful looking individual. Like just a crazy guy to look at.
Mhm.
I followed him because I liked him on Instagram, like during the season. I liked how he played. I liked following him. And now he's a Patriot. So I gotta,
Now you like him
maybe I
even
just
more.
knew when I followed him on Instagram, he'd be a Patriot down and deep in my mind.
Hilarious. It came with the Mac Jones trade too. Like you trade out
Yes.
Mac Jones for him. Like
Yeah, it doesn't even matter, man. Like
I
this is
like the
just a
pick
fun
too.
pick.
Just like there were some people I was listening to that said maybe taking another quarterback just to have one wouldn't be the worst thing. God forbid Drake May doesn't pan out. You've now doubled your chances and maybe hitting on a quarterback in this draft.
Yeah,
And
and Bailey Zappi,
yeah, that was
you
gonna be my
don't.
other thing. Is now you officially because I'm not gonna say that he was he would have had to thought if you're Bailey Zappi going into the year, you signed Jacoby Brissett. All the talk is that you're gonna draft a quarterback at third overall, so you'd have to think you would know that your days are kind of numbered. But something in the back of my mind, this is a guy that got cut and told people that I'm gonna be the starting quarterback by the end of the year. So there is that level of psycho to Bailey Zappi. To me, like if you brought him in here as like the third string quarterback, didn't want that in the back of Drake May, like just kind of breathing down Drake May's neck. Like, okay, I know Brissett's not the guy. If May doesn't pan out, maybe I'm going to get my third chance here. Joe Milton completely nixes any of that. And I'm fine with it because I'm done. I've been over Bailey Zappi for quite some time now. And again, Joe Milton's not going to play a ton, if at all. But again, just to have that presence there of guy that knows his role, stay back there. You're the third string guy. Learn from a couple of these guys. Like you said, maybe get in on a trick play or two, which would be cool to see. Perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, and apparently Rappaport said like shortly after the draft they're already trying to trade Zappi. You'd think these
What kind of value he'd
receiver
have,
additions kind of maybe spell the end for Juju Smith-Schuster. It goes back to they are getting rid of veterans that they didn't want to keep around from Bill.
Yep.
Adrian
Perfect.
Phillips. I like Adrian Phillips, but he made sense to get rid of. Wasn't playing a lot.
Jalen
Lawrence
Mills.
Guy. I'm sorry, I'm chewing this thing. Trent Brown. Who's some other guys they got rid of? Devontae Parker. They're getting rid of
That
veterans
guy. Yep.
that they don't want part of this team, just because
Cool
whatever.
with it.
They want to shape the team their way. It might lead to Juju being
See ya.
cut, which would be 12 million dead money. That's
See ya.
fine. You have
Yep.
it. It's like 3 next year. That's nothing. I like it. We're looking at a potential Kendrick Bourne, Pop Douglas, Javon Baker, Jalen Polk, Jalen Rager, and Tyquan Thornton. Some semblance of that receiver core. KJ Osborne as well. Maybe Tyquan is in there as the 7th. I don't think they're going to carry 7. They could probably spell his head for Tyquan Thornton unless he really shows out. You have rebuilt this receiver core. You've got your quarterback. You've got two quarterbacks. Maybe Joe Milton's a guy someone wants to take a shot on too. If he doesn't work out here, maybe someone trades for him.
Mhm.
But it's like it just reshapes your quarterback room. That's another position they clearly wanted to reshape the whole room. I like that. I like the aggressiveness.
Absolutely.
Elliot Wolf is delivering on what he said.
Mhm.
He's going to weaponize the offense. He's going to get a quarterback. He's going to spend some money where it's smart. And that's what he's doing. And it's great. And Elliot Wolf is off to an awesome start. This isn't going to be fixed in 1 year. For the people who are mad about Calvin Ridley, was Calvin Ridley getting them into the playoffs this year?
No.
No. And he's making like $23 million a year.
You handcuff yourself. Almost said handicap.
Like,
Same thing.
you have guys that can be contributors on rookie money, like big contributors in years 2 or 3 for Drake May. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's how
If
you that's
anything.
how you start your ascension
If
with
anything,
cap
next year is the
flexibility,
year you kind
young
of
talent,
go balls to the wall.
and now you can go balls to the wall next year. You could still trade for a receiver if you wanted to.
Yep.
If the fucking Bengals, the 49ers want an early pick next year and a mid-round pick or something for one of their receivers, you know who they are
Go
at this
for
point. Even Debo, they went after freaking Debo.
it.
They tried to trade for Debo Samuel and Justin Herbert.
I know the Herbert stuff is wild. Like,
Elliot Wolf is doing awesome. If you're saying otherwise, you're overthinking it. Like Felger's thing too. This is not even Felger I'm talking about. An F draft grade is just incredible content. Good
yeah,
for him.
exactly. That is
Good
just
for the show.
Yeah. Yep.
Like there's no way he actually means that.
That is. I
You
woke
gotta
up
kind of
today
respect it a
and
little bit.
absolutely. I woke up today and I'm just gonna try to piss as many people off as I possibly can.
Oh my god.
Like,
I feel bad
you
for the
wonder
people
if
that
they had
are.
like a bad rating. I can't imagine they did because the ratings they blow everybody out of the water. But like you
Yeah.
wonder if like the day before, like a little bit of a downtick in ratings. Okay, how can I spruce this up a little bit? Let me just say every pick that they
Yeah.
took sucked. Like you're
Yeah, I
right.
don't
It
know.
is
It's
it's ballsy
incredible.
and you give credit where credit's
Incredible.
due 100% for something that egregious.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts. Jaheim Bell, a guy
I
we talked
love
about, they
this
had a
pick.
top 30 with. This is just a guy that shouldn't have fallen this far, and you're just like, yeah, we'll happily take it to the bank.
Mhm.
Put the pick in. Comparable to Chig Okonkwo, as you have listed here, which is interesting because I like Chig
I
Okonkwo.
do too.
He's
Yeah,
not this game-breaking tight end, but like if you can get a Chig Okonkwo in the 7th round, you'll take that. He's a good
absolutely.
player. He's not like, to me, when I watch him, he doesn't necessarily look like a prototypical tight end. He's a little more slim to me.
Mhm.
Maybe it's just the pads a little bit too, but like he can move well enough. He's not this like amazing tight end athlete, but he moves well enough. He plays physical in the highlights I've watched, which I like. You know, he's not one of these, not a lot of tight ends trying to make you miss, but he initiates contact. I like that in a tight end.
Mhm.
This is just a good flyer to take. You have an awesome guy he can learn from in Hunter Henry. Austin Hooper's been around the block. Even as a new guy, he can provide some good veteran expertise. This is a good guy for TC McCartney, the new tight ends coach.
Yep.
See what he can do. Maybe he can turn him into a stud. And this pick looks awesome. This is a guy that should have went in the 4th or 5th round, fell to the 7th, and you took him. You hope you turn this pick into something good. And he's like a tight end 2, maybe outside shot at a tight end 1. But if you get a tight end 2, a guy that can block a little bit, I don't know how great he is as a blocker, but he's just a good football player. You can't hate this pick to me.
Mhm.
You can't.
Yeah, he was an interesting one, and I think he was the only one I saw. I'm sure he did it for all of them, but I watched Alex Barth kind of his breakdown on Bell, and one of the interesting things I saw him say is the reason why he fell is that because not a lot of teams knew what to do with him. Like, because I think he called him basically like I think ultimate tweener was the word he used because he didn't know like tight, not really like you said, built as a tight end. Can run the ball a little bit. Has lined up as a wide receiver before, so he said like teams are maybe scared off by that, which makes and it doesn't whether it's Bell or somebody else. That never makes any sense to me when it comes to
Yeah,
draft
what?
stuff. Like, why wouldn't you want a player like that exactly? Like, oh, we have this guy that maybe can play three different positions for us and line up
Yeah,
wherever
that
we ask him
sucks.
to. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want that. Like that's not a knock against Barth. I feel like a lot of people kind of share the same thought
Unless
process
they
on
think it's
Bell.
like an intelligence thing, like maybe they
Maybe,
think at the position they want him, if it's not a tight end, or obviously it should be tight end because
maybe
that's
that's
the
an
main
interesting way to
position.
look at it. I didn't think of
Maybe
it as
they
that
think it's an
angle. So,
intelligence thing.
but
Maybe
yeah,
he'd be
whenever I
tough to
hear that, I'm
coach.
like, that's so stupid. Like, why?
Really stupid.
I don't get it. But yeah, I love the pick again. You taking you didn't need to take a tight end. You did it's what's the phrase I'm trying to think of here? I'm losing it at the end of the show again. It's a
Okay.
luxury more than our need, whatever the hell you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And Austin Hooper's on a 1 year deal.
Exactly. Like perfect spot to take a flyer and a tight end again, especially if he's a
Hmm.
gadget guy, can play multiple positions. Like I don't know how you can be mad at that pick, and
Hmm.
I'm sure people are for some reason, but that would be foolish.
Yeah, and he has to just have a healthy competition with a guy like Mitchell Wilcox. One of them will get cut. I think, if you cut Bell, you can put him on the practice squad.
Hmm.
Um, I think they're probably just looking for Bell to outplay him. That's the big thing, and then they go from there.
Pretty
Because
much, yeah.
he can. Like Mitchell Wilcox is essentially a pure blocker. Like if he sticks around, he'll catch like 5 or 6 passes maybe. But
That's the guy that got
like,
drilled in the face at the combine,
yeah,
right?
drilled in the
Yeah,
face of
like
the
I
combine.
told you, like that's the definition of a
Um,
blocking tight end right there.
yeah,
Nothing
it was
against
an
him,
awesome
but
draft.
yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I
On
mean
draft free agents. All right, you want to go?
the only thing I
Is there
also
something
was going
else
to
you
say,
want
because
to
I
say?
kind of texted you this, I think, either as his draft was going on or right after it ended or whatever it was, but how refreshing was it, again, to like, you obviously know more players and stuff when it comes to draft stuff than I do, but that, like, texting you, how refreshing is it that a lot of these names you actually knew? Like, it wasn't, oh,
Yes.
we took a
Yes.
flyer on a free snapper from East Bumfuck University in the third round. Like, and then I don't know if you saw today, there was a report I saw kind of inside the Patriots draft room or war room, whatever you want to call it. Um, Somebody, I can't remember who had it, but it made like a note of like the Patriots on the draft board had like over 250 names or something like that when they usually only had 100 the last couple of years. And obviously, I'm sure you saw the reports on like how many people were allowed in the room, stuff like that. Just again, going into the new regime stuff, like all the different changes
Yep.
has been incredibly refreshing. And again, like you said too, with Elliott Wolf, every pick being an offensive weapon potentially, or just player outside of the cornerback. Good to see. Obviously, you know your needs. You didn't have to go and we'll take a defensive lineman here just because he's a guy we think we can mold into something. Like they knew
Hmm.
what the needs were and they addressed pretty much every one of them.
Yeah.
Which was great to see.
Building around the future.
Absolutely.
What did you think of Bill on the Pat McAfee show? Because it was kind of funny at the end. He obviously had like a lot to offer. He had his own board beforehand.
Hmm.
Of course, he did. Um, he told some
I
awesome stories. He
thought he did
retold
good.
the Randy Moss one that everybody knows. Like maybe not all the details. Maybe he added
Yeah,
some details we didn't know,
that
but
was yeah. I
everybody
was
knew
gonna
that
say.
story to an
Yep.
extent
Hmm.
if you pay attention to it. But I thought it was funny at the end. Like Belichick essentially like said like, "Can we do
Asking
this
for a
again?"
job.
He's
Yeah,
like he's like that was fun.
like Bill
He's like
needs to plead his
please.
case for a job.
It
Exactly.
was
Yeah.
kind of like it was kind of hilarious. Like, we should do this again, right?
Mhm.
You want to do this again?
It was, I mean, at times, I'm sure it was, I hadn't watched the whole thing. I just saw just the clips you were talking about. So I'm sure there were times where it was a little corny, but we've said it before.
Mm.
Like, this is something Bill needs. Like, he needs
No,
to
he
have
was
this
all
side of him
business.
come out.
What
Like,
I
we
saw was
obviously,
awesome.
yeah, we obviously know the great football mind that he is. Like, you need the personality side of it, especially if he wants
Yeah.
to get back into the NFL, either, at some point this year or, whether that's next year, whatever it's going to be, if he gets another opportunity to coach. Like, he needs
Mm.
something to show, like, okay, maybe he is a little bit relatable. He has a personality side to him.
Yeah.
And hopefully that comes out the more he does this, because I think he was really good at points.
Yeah, he had like the stern, like Belichick, like seriousness to talking about football, but he didn't have the hard out coach vibe, which
Yeah,
is good.
exactly. I also thought it
It
was
was
kind of funny
awesome.
too when they get to obviously kind of a weird spot. I'm sure he was in talking about what the Patriots, needed in assessing the Drake May pick. But found it kind of funny when he was like, "Oh, Patriots needs are our quarterback, wide receiver, and this other thing." I wish someone would have been like, "Why
It
is
was a
that,
corner, I
Bill?"
think.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
why do they need these positions exactly? Could you go into
Hmm.
and give us a little bit of a detail on that? But
Yeah.
That had to
Must
have
have been
been
cool
a
for the guy. They have a Boston guy in that panel.
mhm,
His name is Connor. I think he just goes by Boston Connor. That must have been sick for him.
absolutely getting to sit there
That
and
must have been
chop it up with Bill
awesome.
Belichick. Absolutely.
Oh my God, I could listen to him tell stories about his career and funny player stories forever. It was
Got
the
plenty of them.
best.
Yeah.
It was so cool. Undrafted free agents. We'll see how this does in the post Belichick era, but more often than not, heavily more often than not, they keep an undrafted guy or two around.
Mhm.
So we'll keep these names in mind. Charles Turner, from LSU. We've seen LSU produce some good linemen in the past. One of the top linemen in next year's draft, Will Campbell, is an LSU guy. So maybe this guy's got some good background, blocking a little bit for Jaden Daniels. Zuri Henry from UTEP, Deshaun Fenwick, Oregon State. Know nothing about him. I know the guy ahead of him, Ollie Gordon III, is one of the best running backs in the country and will be again. So maybe he's learned some good things from Ollie. I love Ollie. One of my favorite players going into next year's draft already. And I don't know, Ryan, because they got Kevin Harris, who wasn't a lock.
Mhm.
They got Jermichael Hasty, who should not be a lock, probably shouldn't even make the
No, God,
team.
no.
Just a scrub, can't body type of guy. Maybe he shows up every once in a while. I wonder if this Fenwick kid makes the roster. I wonder if he's the guy as the third back. I think he could easily beat out one of those guys,
Be an
unless he
interesting
just
name to keep an
stinks.
eye on. Absolutely.
Um, I watched some clips. Doesn't look like the craziest athlete for a running back, but I don't know. Maybe he shows up. I wonder if this guy makes the team. Jacob Warren, another guy, will battle with Jaheim Bell with Mitchell Wilcox from Tennessee. Got some familiarity with Joe Milton. Imagine that
That
factored
helps.
into it. Joe Milton
Mhm.
was excited. I saw something about that. Del Pettis, a safety from Troy. Mikey Victor, whose name literally translates to Mikey Winner. He's a fellow Mike. Bring him in, corner depth, put him on the practice squad. Good idea, in my
Vibes guy.
opinion. Yes, Caleb Ford Dement, one of two Texas State guys being brought in. He's a corner. John Morgan III, an edge rusher from Arkansas. I don't know if you saw the look, but Jet Bush, I kind of need Jet Bush. You need to look up what Jet Bush looks like if you
Mhm.
haven't already.
Was he the guy? So who was it that
The guy with
said
the
he's based?
mustache, the cool hair, just looks like a Texas guy. Look
Maybe
up
not.
Jet Bush right
He might
now.
not be the guy I'm thinking of then.
Look up Jet Bush.
There
One
was
guy I
some
know who he is, John Tree Hunter from Georgia State. What were you saying?
there was some guy, was it Coley on Twitter that said like one of these guys looks like he's like an action figure type of thing.
Yeah, that's
Was that
Jet
him?
Bush.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
he's a stud.
Oh
John
yeah,
Tree
yeah, that's the
Hunter
kid. Yep.
is good. From what I know, I've heard the name a little bit. Saw some buzz. I think I saw him like a little late in some people's mock drafts here and there too. So he went undrafted. Maybe they found some nice value. Bo Corrales has some familiarity with Drake May. He's a rookie camp invite.
That's
Great
just a
hair,
football name right there.
great hair, great football name. Receiver, no Drake May. Outside shot. We'll see how he does in rookie camp. And we have a defensive lineman slash punter.
How the
Never
hell does
seen
that
this
even
one.
work? Yeah.
Devin
I
Adams
thought
from
running
Peru State. I thought
there's the
that
guy
was
from East
that
Bumfuck.
was
There he is.
there's the guy I thought was from South America. I saw
Peru
Peru and I was like,
State. Where is
he's
that?
coming from South America. Peru is a place in Nebraska.
Didn't know
I
that.
did not
Learn
know
something
that
new every
either.
day.
You really do, because
And I thought you telling
I
me
would imagine 90% of the people that will listen to this episode did not know
gotta
there was a
more than
Peru in
90. You
Nebraska.
gotta be sitting like
Yeah,
98, 99%. And I thought
yeah,
running back slash what was it, safety you said earlier? Was that the dual position you were telling me
yeah,
about or you
Sion
mentioned?
Vaki.
And I
Which is
thought that
funny
was
that
gonna be
he
the weirdest.
goes. That guy is funny because that just feels like a funny Dan Campbell guy.
Hmm.
And the first thing I saw about him, that Sion Vaki kid, heat-seeking missile. Sounds like a Dan Campbell guy.
Absolutely. That sounds like a
Yeah.
Dan Campbell quote right there. Like that's what we need
Dude,
in our
like
draft
imagine
board.
that guy, a guy like that getting goal line snaps, fucking open field bundling
Yeah.
somebody playing
Heat
high
seeking missile.
safety. Yeah, that sounds like a Dan Campbell guy. As you have
Something
noted, they only brought in 4 undrafted free agents last year. They brought in double digits this year.
changing up the philosophy as a whole.
Yeah,
Gotta love
but
it.
that also at the same time, like Belichick's had big undrafted free agent classes
True.
too.
Yep.
It's not
He knew
always
how to hit
small.
on those for sure.
Yeah, and he knew how to hit on him. We saw
Hmm.
that. Um, Overall thoughts and grades. As you know, now I love this draft class. Maybe my favorite in my lifetime. As a Patriots fan,
Some fun
probably
draft
is. I'm
classes.
I'm thrilled. Is it all gonna work out? Not sure. Um, I'm very excited right now for the future. They're not going to be a playoff team next year. I'd be shocked if they were. they're going to be more competitive. They're going to be more stable. I think they stabilized a lot of positions and added some excitement for the future, whether that's free agency or the draft. Also via trade, they got rid of Devontae Parker, smart pick, smart move. I love it. It has to be a lot to be an A plus, but it's close. I'm going to go A minus. I want to go A. I think A minus makes a little more sense. I think A is like, you have to really, like, it really has to be perfect. And, there is still, it's a really good draft, but things could not work out. You could have passed on a player at the wrong time. It is what it is, especially if the Jalen Polk thing looks bad. If, AD Mitchell really outperforms him, or some defensive player you could have had or something really outperforms, and that pick could look bad. It has to be special to be an A plus. This draft is special. I feel like if you called me a homer for calling it an A plus, I'd get it. It's an A minus. I think A minus is the right grade for me when I came down to. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it.
I went back and forth between an A minus and a B plus. I ultimately settled on a B plus just because I think, I lean towards some nitpicky stuff. Like, I'm a little surprised. Like I said, they didn't tackle a true left tackle, because that was obviously the biggest need, especially now that you have May coming in here. Like, you'd like to have a bona fide option as your blindside guy. It'd be interesting to see, if some of these draft picks work out, or maybe they'll add a guy late in camp. Maybe somebody breaks free, or, once cut down day starts, maybe they get him there. But I don't know. Again, just kind of nitpicking. And then some of the trades are just guys that were on the board. Brandon Coleman was a name we talked about as well. Some guys maybe they could have moved up for end of the second round to grab. If they wanted to make a trade, but obviously then you probably would have had to give up, like you said earlier, some of your mid-round picks. Maybe you don't get an extra receiver there. So it is a give or take type of thing. Already talked about the Drake May pick, being the good one, because again, I think if you trade down, you are really risking the chance of not getting a quarterback. You're ending up with Bo Nix, or if you wanted to wait super late, Spencer Rattler, if you go that route later on in the draft, or maybe Milton is your quarterback in the 7th round, which again, we like Milton, but that would have been, I feel like, a doomsday situation there. So again, glad they stayed at 3. Nothing was, as we talked about, enticing to get off of 3. And then the late round flyers, like we talked about with Milton and Bell, absolutely love those. Goodbye, I said Jake Bailey. Goodbye, Billy Zappi. And then again, adding a Swiss Army knife type of player in Jaheim Bell, I feel like can only be a positive. Again, I don't see the negative in getting a guy that you don't really know where he can line up, because he has all those tools and that versatility.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. It's good stuff. Speaking of quarterbacks, this reminded me. Did you know the Giants didn't take a quarterback?
I did not know that. I figured they may have factored in like a 6th or 7th round pick on a quarterback. That's interesting.
That's a team that could have used maybe Joe Milton if the Patriots.
Yeah, absolutely. They really like
Daniel
Jones,
just someone,
or Daniel Jones, according to their wide receiver.
Daniel Jones, that could have been a Spencer Rattler spot. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder what they're thinking. In
who is their backup?
Because maybe Tommy DeVito's just the future.
Is DeVito still there? I don't know why I thought they.
I think it's Jones, Locke, and I think DeVito's still there.
Okay. And you give Tommy Cutlets another chance. See if.
Hey, I'm just saying this. I'm expecting Drew Lock starts this year.
Would not surprise me in the slightest.
Some, maybe just 2 or 3. We'll see some Drew Lock this year. Any closing thoughts, Ryan?
Not that I can think of. Just other than relating it back to the Celtics, they look like they are cruising their way to the Eastern Conference semifinals. Nice little send off here for Mike Gorman. Because I don't think they'll have second round coverage. So this is it for Mike Gorman. I don't know any closing. The only reason that dawned on me is because a couple of messages popped up on the NBC Sports Boston broadcast of being like, this is a nice way to send Mike Gorman off. So yeah, I know you talked about Jack Edwards earlier. Was that the last home game he just called last night? This is it for Gorman, unless the Heat pull off a miraculous comeback in the last 2.5 minutes. But not going to be the case. So we did that.
The Celtics would have to be relegated.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which would be hilarious and stupid concept, but
yeah. Like I said, they
shout out to Mike Gorman, man.
They should find
that sucks. But good for him at the same time.
The national broadcast should find some sort of way to factor him in, get him broadcast have the guy sit in for a couple of minutes, interview him, do something like that. If he's I'm sure he'll still be at the Celtics games. I'm sure he's going to do pre and post game stuff for NBC Sports Boston throughout the playoff run. So it's going to be weird. We already talked about it when we did last week, a couple weeks ago, when we found out that both him and Jack are done. So kind of set our pieces on that. But it's going to be weird for sure moving forward.
Win for Mike, win for Tommy, win
Absolutely.
for Jack. Shout out Tommy Heinsohn, rest in
Yep.
peace. Yeah, I mean, we gotta just like get off the air here and just soak in these last few
Yeah,
minutes.
absolutely. The last minute of the game. Yeah.
Just to hear Mike's words. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us wherever you find your podcasts: Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, Twitch. You can follow us on Twitter at Mike_Cratty, at Ryan_Salvaggio, and the show at Salvaggio and Cratty Pod. You can follow us on TikTok as well, just the name of the podcast in the search bar. We'll see you next week. Hopefully the Bruins will be in the second round. Awesome, good stuff will happen. Maybe the Red Sox will get healthy. We'll see. See you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, be nice to people, all that good stuff. And I hope you enjoyed this whopper of an episode. Peace out.